Today we are going to be talking about the state of the game, Throne and Liberty. I'm joined here with my good friends and content creators, Dank RNG, Morrolan, and Joey TV. All right, got it. We've got a good little cast here, all experienced vets, and there's a lot of chat when it comes to. There's a lot of chatter when it comes to the state of the game, PvP meta. Bugs and exploits, AGS, the direction of the game, the burnout, all of these things, and we are going to be talking about that today. I don't think I really need to go through introductions. Everyone in the Throne community should know who these people are, so we're just gonna get right into it. You guys are gonna have to excuse my female voice. I'm gonna have to talk in a female voice here in like a little bit, like 2 minutes, okay, as a channel point redeem. You two can be a part of the channel point redeems if you watch me on Twitch. Anyways, let's talk about our first subject. Oh, before we do, let's actually talk about let me go through the table of contents, I guess. So the first thing we're going to be talking about is content / burnout. Burnout is kind of part of that, right? So just general Throne content, and within that we're going to have a lot of subcategories. Then we're going to talk about bugs and exploits, and then we're going to be talking about PvP meta, which is obviously like class balance and stuff like that. We're going to get to the juice last. That's probably going to be the longest section of this podcast. Let's talk about content first, starting with the progression, starting with the day-to-day progression. Joey's been around. Dank and Joey, we've been playing this game since the KR days. Moro's been, he's essentially caught up to us with how much he plays on NA when it comes to raw hours. How do you guys feel about the day-to-day here? How's the grind feeling? Let's start with you, Dank.
I feel like it's not engaging enough. Like, I understand that they don't want to just have like an endless grind that people can get ahead on. And so they just want to kind of keep it, you have your 2 hours of content a day. Like, I get that, but there has to be something other than like dimensional trials that you can just log in and play all the time. Because otherwise you're essentially telling your player base, you're out of content for the day, go play something else. And that they could go get addicted to that other game that they're playing. And I don't know, it just seems better for concurrent players to have multiple options of things to do throughout the day, other than just do your contracts, do your dungeons, do your whatever you feel like doing, 5 hours of Nebula time a week, If they removed limitations on Nebula, I think that would help a lot. But we're just missing something. It feels very stale, and it feels like it's always felt. It hasn't changed at all in about the year that I've played the game.
Real quick, before we dive deeper into this, let's just come out with it. Is the game dying or not? Because you guys definitely hearing it in your chats for sure, right? Is the game dying or not?
Is the game dying or not?
Yeah,
I think people are a little.
I'm turning on my female voice now. You guys can't hear in Discord, but on Twitch they can hear a female voice. Sorry, 2 minutes. Okay, we got 2 more minutes. Sorry, is the game dying or not?
Yeah, I mean the population is definitely going down, right? I think people are a little alarmist. Like if the game loses a few thousand players on Steam, everyone is immediately like, "Oh, the game's dying." But at the same time, for sure, people are starting to feel a fatigue. I mean, my guild just disbanded literally yesterday, and that was after like 3-4 weeks of just losing people every couple days.
So you're joining our guild, right, Moro?
No.
Come join us, man.
You guys aren't on the spreadsheet. I tried to find you guys. I don't know what you guys are up to.
What spreadsheet?
What spreadsheet?
We're having a great time.
Yeah, maybe I'll make an alt and join you guys.
Crazy as hell.
It's not like
That's what they all say.
Make all the healer. That's actually even better. Okay, I'm now. Yeah, it's got 1 more minute on this damn voice. All right. Joey, you're quiet. Why are you quiet? Is this game dead as hell? What's going on?
Bro. It ain't fun. There's not enough PvP, and for us players who are on this stage of the game where we're geared as fuck, these contracts, these daily dungeons that we don't want to do anymore because we get nothing out of it. There's literally nothing. There's no benefit for us to do it, but we have to do it anyway. And the only thing that was holding us off is maxing out our mastery, probably. And We need more content to be able to use the gear that we've farmed to this point, you know, instead of like continuously doing PvE. We need more PvP, bro. It's not enough. It's not enough. We need maybe an instanced game mode where we can constantly queue, not just arenas, more like I don't know, 20 mid-scale, 20 versus 20, 40 versus 40 content we
Full
can
battleground.
instantly queue. Yeah, and randomize, make it randomized so that it's never one-sided stomp at all times, because if people just spam pre-mates on that shit, it might not be balanced, you know? So make it randomized to make it fun for casual players. We need more PvP, man. Yeah.
Real quick, Chichuna, thank you so much for the 10 gifted subs. Thank you, thank you. This is going to be the last phrase I say with my female voice because the redeem is now over. Okay, so we are going to be talking about the PvE content and the PvP content specifically, but are you guys burned out with the general day-to-day loop?
Yeah, for sure.
Is it boring for you guys?
Burned
On
out
a scale of
before
0 to
global.
10, how burned out are you?
I mean, it only takes 3 months to get burned out, I'd say. On a scale of 1 to 10, 12, bro. Like, I was burned out on the PvE before global, right? Like, Korea did it to me. 6 months of Korea was enough
100%.
for me.
100%.
And I don't know, like they have us doing content that we have no purpose doing anymore, like tier 2 dungeons. Like, I feel like you should be able to convert your like lower tier tokens into higher tier tokens at like a lower rate or something. I don't know. Some system to where we're not doing like this old content that we blast through in 5 minutes and it's like, why am I even here?
I've never really liked that type of daily grind, you know? It's like, just I think in general, any MMO that forces you to do the same goddamn shit over and over and over again, it just gets boring. You know what I mean? Like, bro, think about this. You play an FPS game like Call of Duty or whatever is fun for you to do on a day-to-day basis, right? It's like whatever, you know, like, forget about progression. I just want to go in there and blast. Even that, when you do that every day for hours and hours and hours, you want to take a break. You don't want to do that shit every day. It's got to change, right? So, that's one of the biggest issues that I personally have with theme park games, and I think that's one of the biggest issues with Throne that is kind of not really talked about as much. My personal opinion. Okay, so let's talk about PvE real quick first. Okay, PvE content right now, obviously, Trials is the pinnacle PvE content. It's pretty much the pinnacle content right now. And we are going to be talking about actually, I guess we could talk about it right now. Like, even the pinnacle content is like, there's no incentive because they haven't even reset the leaderboards. You know, it's like whatever incentive there could be for PvE, that's gone because people have cheated their way to the top. And it's like, who gives a shit, right? So then now it's just for runes. Other than the trials, we just have dungeons and, you know, solo dungeons, world boss grinding. I don't know. It feels a little bit empty on the PvE side. What do you guys feel?
Yeah, nobody wants to
feels
spam
the same.
T5 trials. I think that being able to push higher and higher trials for the leaderboard and for some kind of rune reward or whatever is fun, but like you said, the leaderboards are all cooked, so there's no point in pushing leaderboard, which means the only thing that's left is doing T5 over and over again. The most efficient T5 is Doomrot, which is the most tedious of all the dungeons. I'm just not going to do it. I'm just going to leave my runes at level 70 and just let them go up slowly. No one cares enough to do that.
Yeah, for sure. To answer your question, what would you have us do rather instead? Londoner, personally, this is the reason why I think Vanilla Arcade was the best game I've ever played. I haven't played much Ultima, but Morrow's an Ultima Pro. I believe Ultima was a little bit more like this too, where there's no dailies you do. You kind of do the content that you want. There's another game coming out in the near future that also kind of lines up with this, which we won't really talk about, but that's also more in line with that, right? So like, I'm just not a big fan of daily games. For the past 3 years, my quote unquote main game has been daily games. And Ashes of Creation, I know a lot of you guys are memeing about it, but if it does eventually come out, my grandkids are going to love the fact that there are no dailies for that, you know? So that's my take on it. Joey, I want to hear your take. Talk to me about PvE, man. Are you just here for the PvP talk? What's going on?
For PvE, man, I just want to get it over with.
Yeah.
It's literally, there's nothing for me to, aside from the runes, like which Morrolan already talked about. Like nobody does care to do tier 5 spam for 80 because it's not that big a difference between 70 and 80 anyway. So people just do their weeklies and then they get the chest, the weekly rune chance chest, the precious ones, and then just wait for it to get up
Just
to
wait for
80 and that's it.
Yeah.
For PvE, aside from the trials, we also have the Hall of Illusion, right? Which is a little for solo players. And even that doesn't feel that much rewarding
I don't-
because they
this-
give you that false hope of
Yeah.
getting a nebula item. But
The problem
just
I
never
have
get
with,
it.
the problem I have with solo dungeons, and this obviously will change once you start getting a lot of gear. So this might be a little bit unfair of a take, but I just don't like how it's like, especially at this stage of the game, it leans so heavily towards anyone that has healing. You know what I mean? It's like you need healing. And if you take a bow with you to apply Nature's Blessing and the heal the hot on yourself, you lose a lot of damage, and then it just becomes a tedious fight. Like I would much rather the tier 5 dungeons be a significantly shorter fight and more difficult. You know what I mean? Like forget like just like when you're a DPS going into the tier 5 dungeons, you're just essentially dying to trade because it's not difficult to get the mechanics down, right? And then it's just because the fight is so long, you will eventually bleed out. And obviously there are ways around it. I know, I get it, guys. Obviously, if you're using dagger, you could use the skill that heals you. You could pick up the mastery top left. I know. So which is why I know like later on, once everyone gets gear, it'll probably be, it will for sure be easier. But right now, like let's talk about now. Like right now, I feel like it doesn't feel fun to the point where like I can clear all the tier 5s, but I just don't want to. Like I haven't even done them straight up. Like I just haven't done them.
Yeah, same. I think we only did like 3 of them, and the other ones just doesn't really feel worth it. The rewards aren't there. As far
I
as,
like the solo dungeons, but
solo dungeons are just mids, and there's no good PvE content in the game right now, whether you're doing dimensional trials or you're doing solo dungeons, right? Like,
real quick, chat, I want you guys to type in the chat right now whether or not you guys enjoy the solo dungeons, or if you think it's meh, or if you think it's like, oh, I don't really like it. One of the 3 options. Type it in chat so that we can kind of get a feel for how you guys feel. I will probably be uploading this podcast to YouTube, so yeah. So
I think if we ran that poll by class, we would see a direct correlation, right? Because like
for sure,
if you're playing Gladiator, they're fine, right? But like you said, if you're playing like Scorpion or something, you have, if you're playing something that doesn't have self heal, then it's just not going to be enjoyable.
I totally
You
agree.
have to build that Void Stalker set 4-piece.
Yeah, for sure. Yo, real quick, huge shout out to my boy Kranis. Thank you so much for the 100 gifted subs. I love you, bro. I would stop this podcast and give you a 10-minute shout out, but for the YouTube folk watching at home, thank you so much. That's huge. Please spam the chat with hearts at Kranis. Appreciate you, man. Huge. Really, really very much appreciated. So yes. So here's my point. You're right, Moro. There's definitely going to be a connection between like how much you enjoy it versus the class you play, and there's always the counter argument of, hey, well, it's difficult content, so you should build for it, as you should with every specific content in the game. All fair points, but it's expensive to build. Majority of the player base cannot build multiple sets. It will take them way too long. And at the end of the day, if the majority do not think it's good, then I think there needs to be some adjustment there. I like the idea of solo dungeons, and I like them being in the game, and I think there's a lot of potential there. I just think they need to definitely make some adjustments to it. PvE content, I really don't feel like there's too much to talk about, just because there isn't that much PvE content going right now. And then we do have a bugs and exploits section where we're going to talk a little bit more about the leaderboard stuff. But let's talk about PvP. Obviously, this is a PvP-centric game. Joey, let me hear your thoughts on the PvP content. Why don't you share your take generally speaking, PvP content thrown?
So right now it's either war games, Dominion events, World Boss inter-servers, and Boomstone Riftstones. Siege is every 2 weeks. So Nebula every day, but people just get in. Sometimes some depends on which server you're matched with. Some of the servers they would rather just dogpile people to try and get into the portal, get the boss done, and get the fuck out of there and start farming. But and then there are some servers where you will literally fight 50 minutes over the portal and bombed nonstop, and those are the only large scale options in the game. I think the game, as soon as the game started shifting towards a lesser or smaller scale content, we started losing a lot of players real fast. Because people, I know it might be a biased take, but a lot of people like the large scale in this game. Especially remember back then when world bosses were like guild events, and then it's like 4-way ZVZs. It was crazy on your PC, but everyone was having fun. Even if you just go in and die.
I don't know. I disagree.
It was also a much better meta back then, though. And
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of it right now, is that the reason people don't want to do these big fights is because it's all just tanks and healers who can never die, and then Cordy one-shots you. Like, it's so extreme on both ends, and people just aren't having fun with it.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. There's not counterplay for the Zergs other than getting a Cordy Expo for 150,000 Lucent, and that can still be countered. So I don't know. We back in Korea we had meteor bombing, right, from staff users. They could go invis and cast half of their meteor while they were invis, and at least like set up a play. But now you just good luck.
You get hooked by an SNS crossbow and then you're gone.
This is what's difficult about this type of game. It's balancing and figuring out how to design your content around PvP. You know, like specifically large scale PvP. How do you do it? You can have it the old way in Throne, where it's just completely open world. It will be dominated by the major alliances, and it will either be one Zerg that gets no competition, or two Zergs that are essentially fighting each other. Or if you have enough players on the server, it'll be, you know, a few Zergs. But again, that's not the majority of your player base. Think about how many people are lining up to the peace portals. Actually, that's a bad example. A lot of regular guilds, a lot of more competitive guilds do that as well. But there are downsides and there are positives. There's pros and cons to having this open world system. And I assure you, the previous system, even though there are pros, for sure, take this as someone that was on both sides of the fence, it overall wasn't a great system. The portal system too has a lot of issues with it, you know, now that we've seen it kind of go through. I like the fact that they have been trying to do something to try and improve it. I still don't know what the solution is, because the portal system has now kind of diminished the PvP content for the people that did want to, right? Because at the end of the day, like those major alliances on each server, they are a decent chunk of your player base too that you don't want to neglect. So it's like, I personally do not know what the solution is. What do you guys think the solution is? Because keep in mind the open, not to say that I'm in favor of the portals, because that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just kind of trying to stay neutral here and play devil's advocate. But with the old conflict system, it is objectively a bad experience for everyone that is in like a mid-tier guild or under, which is the majority of the player base, right? And then what happens is that helps. It's a contributing factor to the game to the game's population being diminished to just the more hardcore people or the more PvP centric guilds, which is exactly what we see in Korea, by the way. There's like, bro, it's Korea's dead. It's just, it consists of just the people that are showing up to all the PvPs. Like all the major alliances on NA, it's like them, but like less, because the game is just boring for a lot of people too. And then like there really isn't any presence. There's very little presence with like the mid-sized guilds and under the casual guilds. What do you guys think the solution is? Do you think the solution is to just go back to the conflict, or do you think it's to adjust the portal system? And if so, in what way would you guys adjust it?
Well, there's an incentive problem right now, because even if you are in one of the best PvP guilds, you're better off loot-wise splitting up and going into the peace portals. So I don't think that...
Very good point.
I don't think reducing the amount of conflict bosses was a bad thing. I think you're totally right. Like the majority of players are going to prefer 48v48 over 300v300 or whatever. So it was a good change. Maybe it went a little too far. They could have kept in like maybe one conflict boss a day or something. But Nebula also sort of serves that role. So content wise, I think that it's there. It's just the incentives are out of whack.
What do you think, Dank?
Yeah, they should definitely reward like GVG portals and Dominion portals with like higher rates and I don't know, something better than what's currently going on, because Morrow's absolutely right. Like you're just better off going to peace every single time. Just with how the portals work. Like it's gonna split you up into a bunch of different instances. Thus you'll get more loot anyways.
I personally think a good starting point, because we have the system in place, right? Because we already have the portal system in place. I think a good starting point would be to, number one, make you have to improve the matchmaking algorithm in the GVG portal, right? I'm hearing we haven't done enough of it, so I can't really speak on this too much, but it sounds like some guilds are facing another guild like over and over and over and over again. You know,
their own alliance.
Yeah,
because
their
it's the
own
only
alliance.
guild's queuing though.
Exactly,
Like...
exactly, which is fair, which is fair, right? Which is my next point, which is I totally agree with you, Morrow. I think the incentives need to be adjusted, right? I think problem one could potentially be fixed if, like, because it's difficult to even tell if the algorithm is bad, because like exactly what you're saying, like there's not enough guilds queuing probably. So if there's not enough guilds queuing, if you increase the incentive, then we have a different picture, potentially different picture, right? So maybe incentivize, make it so that like the GVG portals are the most rewarding, incentivizing more guilds to participate, you know, that would make sense to me. And the Dominion events, I think they need, I don't know how much better it feels now. I haven't done a Dominion since after the change, but those bosses need to die in a fraction of the time. Those fights are way too goddamn long. That fight, in my opinion, needs to be 10 to 15 minutes tops. No one wants to be sitting in there. You know, like, do you go into a Dominion event, you know when it's going to end, so you know the expected time. And as a player, it doesn't feel like it's too long, but I would not want the Dominion events to be any longer. I'm talking about like regular Dominion events. I'm not talking about the World Boss. You know, like the Dominion, just like, you know, you go here, it's just, you're on these teams.
20 minutes, perfect.
Yeah, 20 minutes I think is really good. So I would go somewhere between 15 to 20 minute World Boss fights. And then I think we're going to see more action there. And then, like Morrow said, I like peace. It's like, I don't think we should nerf the drop rates for peace, but I think we should significantly up the drop rates and rewards for the PvP, you know?
And here's how you do it. You increase the rewards, but then you incentivize people for trying. Like, even if you show up and you only get 10% or 20% contribution, like if you get smoked by another guild, give that group 20% of the loot. Like, or 20% chance to get loot or something. Like it can't just be all or nothing, because now you have guilds that don't even want to try. If they're an up and coming guild, they're just going to get smoked and get nothing. So you got to increase the rewards, and then you have to like give a consolation prize to the losing team.
100%. We definitely need that tier 1 purple accessory. You know what I'm saying? Like, give it to us. No, but like I honestly, if it was okay, so how would you incentivize that loot? For me, and I like, this is completely neglecting the impact it could potentially have on the economy. Okay, so keep that in mind. I haven't thought this through too much, but I think like the losing team still gets at least a guaranteed purple drop, and the winning team gets like 3 purple drops or something like that for a GVG. I think that would heavily incentivize.
Yeah, I mean, you could still make it random, right? Like, at least if there's a chance to get 3
random,
items, maybe you don't get it every time, you know, but at least a chance to get more loot. So that would, you know, that would make a difference.
Yeah.
5% higher chances for a selection box.
Oh, that could work. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Selection box would be interesting too. Yeah. Good point. Yeah. Actually, yeah.
What about mats? What about materials?
Materials would be good too.
Polished crystals, the gems.
Oh, we need them crystals, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Especially the resonance is here, you know. We need some of those gems.
Yeah, I would like to see them certainly make some adjustments to the to that. Other than the conflict bosses, how do you guys feel about the PvP content in general? I think they need to add BGs. They need to add BGs.
100%.
Well, while we're talking
100%.
about conflict bosses,
Yeah.
I think that we should talk about one very big issue that's happening in the game right now. And that is when we get a peace Cordy or a peace Deluzanoa, and it's conflict of one of the other arc bosses, people are always snaking that arc boss because it takes so long to do the tier 2 arc bosses, and the tier 1s just kind of melt. By the time you're getting out of the portal, the other arc boss is like 20%. I think they should buff tier 1 arc bosses HP and make it take longer just so that you actually have a fight. Because this is like, what, 2 weeks in a row now that whichever boss we go to, it's like already dead or 20% by the time we're getting out of the other portal, right? And you don't really get any PvP.
So not that I agree or disagree, just to play devil's advocate here. Do you think that there is any pros to that? Because wouldn't that force you to make a decision on who you want to go to, giving more opportunity to other to more people, splitting it? Thoughts?
Potentially, yes. Yeah, like I understand that, you know, they might want us to pick one or the other, but you only have to pick one or the other if you're a medium or small guild, and large guilds and alliances can just send half the people one place, half the people the other, and still benefit from both of the loot, you know? Just plays into the numbers game even more, I feel like. But there is absolutely, like, I can see, you know, well, they want you to pick one, but if that was the case, then for when it was flip-flopped, whenever we have a peace version of a tier 1 arc boss and then a conflict version of a tier 2 arc boss, we're not having to choose there, right? We're only having to choose when it's the other way around because the tier 2 arc bosses just have so much HP, and we're in there just like for so long, like 20 minutes trying to get it done. Or 10.
Yeah, when they first announced that there was going to be like half conflict arc bosses and then half peace, I thought that they were going to be on different days. And I think that's kind of interesting because if you had, you know, like conflict Tevent and conflict Cordy happening at the same time, that splits up the Zerg. Like then people do have to kind of choose. But having conflict at the same time as peace, I don't really think it accomplishes the same thing. I feel like the Zerg can just choose to shut down one of those if they want, and small guilds don't really have much agency.
Morro, you were in one of the best guilds in NA/alliances. What was the process like for you guys? Like, how are you guys going about it? Walk us through this.
I mean, it depends on the bot. Like, if Cordy was up, we just went to Cordy. But whenever we did that, Supple would send, you know, like 30 people or 50 people or whatever to hit Tevent. And by the time we got out, Tevent would be 15%. We'd get a few hits on it, it would die. There wouldn't really be any
Cordy
PvP.
peace Tevent conflict, you're saying?
Yeah. If there was a Cordy, we would always prioritize that.
Sure.
Like, so the Cordy piece, we would go there. Yeah, if it was Tevent's piece, then, you know, that's something we could burn in like 2 minutes and then just go to Cordy conflict, because Cordy conflict takes forever. So if it's T1 piece, yeah, we could burn that. But if it's T2 piece, we would go to Cordy. If it was Peace Deluge Noah, then it's kind of like, I don't know. People weren't as hyped on those, so we might just go fight at Bellendir.
Yeah.
But it was still an awkward like spot to be put in, and usually the T1 boss is dead so fast. Like Dank said, you don't really get any PvP. It's a 2-minute fight by the time you get there. Like,
so for
that's the problem in itself. You know, they're lowering the amount of PvP that we have in the game by doing that, right? If we were able to, I mean, that's a once a week thing that you wait for. Well, I mean, technically twice, but that specific boss, like if you want to do Cordy PvP,
doesn't really feel like there's a real fight.
PvP, you can't.
Yeah.
It's 5% by the time you're getting out of the peace portal.
Yeah, it really does feel like the unless it's Cordy conflict, the arc bosses, it really does feel like there is no real fight. Well, Delulu too. If Delulu is, no one's as hyped about Delulu because of loot trial. I mean, they did just buff it, but Delulu is also another one that just takes fucking forever. Well, relatively speaking. Joey, I want to hear your thoughts, but before we do, chat, feel free to chime in and let us know how you guys would adjust it and what you guys think of the current system as well. Don't feel free, like, even if we don't respond to it in chat, it's there. We're all reading chat, and yeah, we you know, it'd be great to have that for the YouTube video as well. Joey, what are your thoughts?
In terms of like the large scale,
The
for
the arc
arc
bosses, the arc boss fights. Yeah.
I'm cool with the arc bosses. It's more like the problem for me would be like, what do you do in between these events? Like once you've done your dailies, once you've
Okay.
done all of the PvE stuff, and then we have dominions running every 2 or 3 hours. What do you do in between those, right?
Mhm.
Like you just AFK in town. You need something to a PvP scenario where you can queue up or at least participate in that you can do in between all of these big events, right? That's what
And
we
not
need.
just us, but new players as well. Because that's
Yes,
a massive
and
problem, right? Because I've
exactly.
talked to Kanon about this. You know, you have like the player base, right? And then you slowly have people leaving over time, and then you factor in the PvP player base. You know, people slowly leaving over time. They're not enjoying the meta, and there's not enough new players coming in to offset the amount of players that are leaving the game that PvP. You know, so we have to get something that new players and veteran players can do. Whether it's both a normal and a ranked version where gear matters of a battleground, or if they change arena, whatever it is, we have to get that. Like the game will die PvP wise if they don't get that.
And also, Dank, the Nebula is limited to like 6 hours per person a week, right? Unless they recharge. So it's not really 24/7 PvP. Because people run out of time.
100%.
They can't just go in to do non-stop PvP because some of the people they would rather spend some of their hours farming their artifacts because not everyone is going to have 3 out of 3 best in slot artifacts, right?
And it's
So everyone's
expensive.
yes, it's
It
expensive.
finally got it's literally just for whales to buy it. Like no normal person is gonna spend $10 to go in there for 30 minutes. Like you're essentially asking us to pay more than what the federal minimum wage is an hour to play a PvE/PvP game mode. Like I don't know, man. It just seems weird to me. I think that it was good before when everybody could craft them. Free to play players could spend extra time there, and I think that was one of the biggest mistakes that they made was making it to where only whales can really afford to go into Nebula for more than that 5 hours. It was detrimental.
It's very gatekeep.
So time is obviously a point of discussion, but let's real quickly talk about the rewards from Nebula. How do you guys feel about the rewards from Nebula when it comes to actual just progression? Forget about like how fun it is or how fun it isn't. Okay, forget about time. How do you feel about the rewards?
The artifacts themselves are very good. Like artifact bonuses and that type of thing is very good. The process of getting good artifacts is very bad. Like it doesn't feel good to play, man. Like you're sitting there for 5 hours doing what you do in Abyss dungeons anyways. And honestly, there's not that much PvP out there. You know, like it
Also,
used to be
Dank, remember,
PvEing out there.
remember.
Yeah, it used to be
Well,
popping until they made that change. That change has killed Nebula. They said that alliances were running it, and you know,
I
now
never
nobody's
felt
out
that.
there.
Okay, and this is coming from someone
Never.
who has been like almost like a fucking spokesperson for anti-Zerg stuff, right? Like Dank and I, we are in a casual yet active guild, non-competitive, but you know we will compete, I guess. Dank, is that a fair description of our guild? But like we are not a Zerg. We are not a Zerg, and when there's a Zerg that comes, we get mollywopped. But even for us, it did not, and maybe it's different for your region, but for us, it did not feel Zergy at all. Like I like only during the world bosses, like or the Nebula bosses. Nebula bosses, yes, it was obviously very Zergy, but the non-boss windows, it like we got way more non-Zerg experience than we did Zerg. Did Zerging exist? Of course it did, but it wasn't to the point of like fucking conflict bosses back in the day in Throne. It wasn't like that, where there's no point in fucking showing up because it's too Zergy. We got a lot, dude. Dank and I, that was the only time, by the way, Dank, I was consistently burning all 7 hours of my Nebula time. That was like, ever since, I actually have. It's like, you know, I think I'm at like 4 hours and 20 minutes right now on my Nebula time out of 5.
I got
Yeah,
like
I would
45
say it's
minutes.
actually the opposite of Zerg content. In a way, it was kind of like Revenge of the Small Guilds. As a like Zergling, my Nebula experience was, if we were in a 6-man group and I called it, like a 30-man small guild showed up and started blasting us, I wasn't going to get 30 people to come show up. They needed to save their time for Grimturk, or they just didn't,
Right.
care enough. Like
Right.
it was
Right.
actually an
Right. Right.
opportunity
Right.
for small guilds to kind of band together in little, in a
Mhm.
vanguard and have some fun and kind of like kill the people who normally Zerg them, if anything.
I think that's a really good point, and I think where maybe AGS kind of missed the ball there is what you probably had. Again, guys, remember this important this fact. I guess not important. This objective fact. The majority of the player base is not who's in Twitch chat right now. The majority of the player base are just like the regular Andes and casual guilds, solo players. And I think those players were in like 6-man parties, and then they got quote unquote Zerg down by like a guild that realistically had 2, maybe 3 parties there. And it felt like a Zerg to them, and there were enough people that complained about it, but in reality, bro, a 2-3 party fight is goated. I love it. I love 2-3 party fights. And at the end of the day, when you lose fights, it always seems like they have more. That's kind of it, right? It's like when you see a group of 30 people, I don't like how, again, outside of the world bosses pre-change, outside of the Nebula bosses, how, and let me know in chat. How big were the quote unquote Zerg groups that you saw in Nebula contesting these spots? Again, outside of the bosses. How big? Let me, Moro, Dank, Joey, why don't you guys tell me how big? How big do you think those groups were? The parties.
Sometimes an entire guild.
So how many people, roughly?
The most I've seen in a regular non-world boss timer.
Yeah.
Like if it's not Grimturk, it's like, I don't know, 40 people.
40
like
people.
Like an inter-server roster.
Okay. Joey, Moro, how many?
Roughly? Yeah, probably like 30. There was a lot of 2 or 3 party groups, so like 12 to 18, but the biggest I ever saw, maybe 30.
Okay,
30 something.
Dank, you?
Are we talking about the bosses or just regular
not bosses? Regular Nebula day-to-day. The most.
Let's be honest. I spend probably the most amount of time out in Nebula PvPing and looking around on Nebula outside of
100% you do. I can attest to that.
And bro, it's like
chat's all agreeing
20% of the groups, 20% maybe, is larger than a 6-man party. That's it.
Yeah. So even chat's agreeing. Generally, it's like 30 to 40 people. I agree. So how often would you say, percentage-wise, before, how often would you see these 30 to 40 man groups, percentage-wise? Again, outside of
like
the
20% of the time.
20%. Okay, would you guys agree with that? You guys would agree with that?
Agree.
So 80% of the time, it's less than a 30 to 40 man group that you're contesting. Guys, that I don't know how small scale you want it. Go to a fucking arena if you want it. Like if you want a 3v3, go to a fucking arena. You know what I mean? And we could talk about arena later, but guys, like 30 to 40 tops usually, and then 80% of the time it's way less. Come on, guys, what are we talking? That is small scale.
You're only holding down one side. There's technically in PvP, there's 3 areas that you could go and farm, right? They can't hold the entire Nebula Island, right?
Yeah.
So even during the 20% of the time that there is a 30 to 40 man group in there, which I really don't see very often, like you just go to the other side of the map. They're not there.
I agree. Now, real quick, before we move on to the next subject, chat, type what your Nebula experience is like now. What is your experience like in Nebula now? Dank, Moro, Joey, let's hear it. What's your guys' experience like in Nebula now? I mean, I know your experience, Dank, but here it is. Here's your platform. Let's hear it.
I'll let them go first.
Okay, go. Yeah, Moro, what's your Nebula experience like now?
Well, I mean, up until recently, like we transferred to Ivory, right? So we have our big mega alliance that was previously kind of uncontested on other servers, and then Supple, they were also kind of previously uncontested. So now it's Clash of the Titans. So every single night at Grimturk, both alliances are bringing 200 plus people, And in order to get an advantage, because a lot of these fights are based on choke points, we're showing up 20 minutes early, 30 minutes early. For Sealed Sanctuary, one time we showed up an hour early. That's an hour of Nebula time where we literally just sat there holding the choke, like to
An
get in like
hour?
2 cycles before. Yeah, because it closes for 15, it opens for
Jesus.
15. So if we got 1 cycle before, 30 minutes before, then we might not have been early enough. So we went 2 cycles early. Which wasn't my call for sure, but that's what the Alliance wanted to do. So we were there doing it. And so, yeah, like an hour of PvP. I mean, in that case, it was probably an hour and a half of PvP because we got there so early, but like an hour PvP every night over Grimturd. And then people have such little time to do anything else that you might get like 30 minutes or an hour of grinding for the week, and you're pretty much done if you don't have recharge stones.
Joey, what's your experience been like with the updated Nebula? Also, chat, let me know this as well. We are reading your messages. Also, let me know if your experience is better now at Nebula or if it was better before all the changes in Nebula. Let me know that too. Joey, your thoughts.
Okay, so for world bosses, especially when we get matched with a super juiced populated server, I can't really speak on the experience because, like someone said in chat, I'm a 50k ping enjoyer. I just sit there with max ping and nothing loads when there's too many people, so I can't even play the game at that point. But in between, like if there's no big boss in Nebula, we sometimes would make 6-man groups and we would contest spots for farming, right? And then after we clear that spot, we'll type it in the guild or alliance. This spot is clear. You guys can farm. Then we'll go to the next spot and fight those guys. Try to get some small scale content, which is more fun because I don't enjoy sitting there going into big portal and having like 20k ping because I don't know. Yeah, I can't speak too much about the super large kill aspect whenever I'm not lagging, it's tanks and healers sitting on top of each other. It's like you see a giant ball of people just brawling in the middle, and then Cody crossbows going in, spinning, and you only see the names of people that are using crossbows in the kill feed. You just hook, spin, kill, and then anyone else you target is a tank or healer. So in terms of like PvP, I mean, it's not as bad as before where you just get one tapped. At least people don't die that fast anymore, unless there is like 150k arc boss weapon. But yeah, overall, it's pretty much it's a good experience for me.
I think when it comes to BGs, I see a lot of people typing it in chat. I did mention it earlier. I think they need to add it. I think everyone on this panel here agrees they need to add BGs. I mean, we could sit here and theory craft. We could theory craft different ways of adding it, but rather than doing that, I think we just move on because I really don't feel like there's any point of us just sitting here and be like, oh, they should do it like this, just like literally, wishful thinking. Yeah, where would you guys? I think they should add BGs. Dank thinks that. Morrow thinks that. Joey thinks that. We definitely. They definitely need to add BGs and make it worth your time. PvP content. Let's move on. We are going to be talking about the state of the game when it comes to the balance. So, like, I see a lot of you guys talking about tanks and healers. That's going to be the last segment of this podcast. All right. Before we do, though, we are now going to be talking about the direction of the game. Broad question, broad subject. How do you guys feel? Direction of the game. Are we doomed?
I feel like it needs battlegrounds.
I think that's the whole thing. To be honest, that's everything, though.
Okay.
It's literally everything.
It's literally everything.
We need that battleground, bro.
Ain't no way this game only needs battlegrounds. Really? Battlegrounds is gonna save it forever?
I mean,
part of the
it's
process,
the one thing
sure.
that fixes the problem where you AFK in town.
Yep.
Is that
and
all
not
the game
only
needs?
that, but
It needs more RPG content in
Raids?
general, right?
Thank you.
More
I agree.
crafting, more whatever. Battlegrounds, absolutely,
Yeah.
for people who want to PvP all day. But there's so many people in this game, like a surprising amount of people in this game, who don't really want to PvP, and they need more RPG content. Like they need more just reasons to be in the world doing stuff.
What would you do? What would you add? Like how would you pilot this ship if you were in the driver's seat?
I mean, they kind of got something going with fishing. I think like the fishing codex is a good start. If they could have more things like that and then just give us more reasons to care about it. Because if you're already into fishing, then I think the fishing codex was really good content for you. But if you don't really care that much, the rewards weren't sparkly enough to like get people that don't normally fish to go fish. So, I mean, they could follow BDO in this vein. I think BDO did a great job having like, 8 different crafting skills that were
Yeah.
all interesting and rewarding in their own way. Just look to what other games are doing, and take inspiration from that to start.
Joey, thoughts?
It's on the back of my mind.
Really?
And I lost it.
Okay, I'll give you time to cook. Dank, you?
I don't know, man. Like raids and stuff like that, like valuable like they need, obviously, like we need them to cater to both the PvE and the PvP player, and both leveling and gathering have never really felt like an actual system in this game. Even with fishing, like people love their fishing, but I don't feel like there's any actual gathering in this game. It's not like you're fishing anything that you're gonna like really craft things with to list on the market. Like best case scenario, you get some trade unlock stones. Fishing's only really good if you like cooking as well. And that's just like very little lucent making, right? And it's also something that's time gated by like how many things you can buy from a shop each day, right? Like to make that special recipe to make that money. So, I mean, as much as I would like them to, like somebody said something about they need to make leveling actually matter, I think it's too late for that. And they pretty much just need to finish the game. They have the base. They've got the leveling pretty much, it's all done. They've got minimal gathering. I don't think, like I said, I don't think that's something important for us to get. Just continue building upon the content that the game is designed for, because this is a large-scale PvP game, and it doesn't seem like they're giving us large-scale PvP things to do. Like when the game's balanced around large-scale, when they gave us arenas, I was kind of confused, and now you can see it really bad, right? Now that we're in the late stage of global and we have pretty much everything that Korea has, like small scale arena is not what this game is for. It is so boring, especially in this current meta. Like we just need more stuff to do that's not time gated, right? Like the gameplay loop day to day is not enough. Adding in gathering, I don't think it's gonna suffice for some players, sure, but they again, they can just go fish, right? Like I don't think that they could add in systems like that without completely changing the direction of the game as a whole, and it would just be too much work rather than just further emphasizing on the features that they've already put into the game, right?
Here's my take. I think time-gated content is bad, and here's why. I think the hardcore players, when you have time gates, like you could do 10 contracts a day, you're gating them from playing the game, and it feels like they have nothing to do. The casual player base, it feels like there's too much to do. I assure you, the majority of the casual player base that cannot play this game for more than 2 or 3 hours feel like they can never finish everything. They can finish the bare minimum, sure, but it's like you have to take a couple days off because you got to take the kids out on the weekend, and then it just seems like you're always fighting to not be capped. I feel like it's just a bad situation for both sides of the gear, both sides of the fence. And I know why they have designed it this way. They've designed it this way in Korea specifically for the working class person. They even set their KR launch. A lot of you guys might not know this, but launch was set at 9 p.m. in the evening, and they specifically said it was so that people can get off of work, finish, have their dinners, and then enjoy the launch. Like they literally said that. It wasn't just like people thinking that. They literally said that, right? So, and there's been plenty of people that have been saying, oh, there's not enough content. And then there's pushback from that. People saying, oh, no, it's way too much. You're just too hardcore. Take a break, play another game. And it's just created the situation with NCSoft where NCSoft is like, okay, we're just going to we don't want to make it too difficult for people, right? So it's like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I think what they need to do is when it comes, and this kind of goes back to the content, you need to just more options, more better. That's the way I see it, and that's something that again goes back to Arcade. So good, right? Of course, Arcade had labor gates, but the design of like the options, the optionality was fantastic. If it were me, if I were in charge of Throne Liberty, I would remove all the gates. Allow players to progress, play as much or as little as they want, because when you remove the gates, by the way, people don't really like how many people complain about being behind in BDO because they can't grind as much as choice. You don't really hear it as much, even though that is objectively true. You don't hear that complaint as much. Most people feel like they fall behind because they can't reach that cap. When you're a casual player and you have these gates, you're like, dude, I have to do these dungeons or I'm going to fall behind. Even if it's like a 20, 30 minute, 1 hour, 2 hour, whatever it may be, it's like you feel like you have to do it. And that's what creates burnout. But if you remove all the gates and let the player do what they want when they want, it doesn't feel as bad. And if you want to make the argument saying, no lifers or pay-to-win players are going to be too far ahead, pay-to-win players are already ahead. No lifers are always going to be ahead of you. But in Throne of Liberty, you have a ceiling with your gear. You could always, if it gets too out of hand, you could always lower the ceiling. You could. Not saying that that's what you should do, but that is an option. Throne of Liberty has the lowest vertical progression ceiling amongst any Korean MMO in the category, right? In the genre. It's doable, right? So I think they should just remove the gates. You could do X amount of dungeons, X amount of tokens, X amount of whatever. If I want to go on the open world like right now, I just want mastery. I want to go in the open world dungeon and farm gear to feed into for my trait rezo, and farm mastery. And I just want to chill and do open world dungeons. That's legitimately what I want to do. Let me do that. And I know this will have a major impact on the economy because you're going to have more gear pieces that are available, but who gives a fuck, man? Adjust the economy accordingly. That's the way I see it, man. Remove and then add more options. And then add more options is the most important thing.
I don't think that they have to do that. I don't think they have to like throw extra gear into the economy. All they'd have to do is like make it to where you have an option to where you can skip doing your dungeons and you still get weapon mastery. And you still get the ores, but you don't get an item because you didn't run the dungeon. Because most players that are done with their gear don't really care about that 100 lucent that they could potentially get from a tier 2 item. Like, it's irrelevant at this point. So just make it to where, just like they did with cooking, the cooking contracts, right? So instead of doing your massive 60 daily contracts that you can just go bang them all out in 5 minutes by cooking, and you just sacrifice some of the rewards, right? They should do that more with like dungeons and other facets of the game, right? Like I think that's the best way to go about it. And then they can pick and choose if they want to sit there and play and get all the rewards, or if they just want to, cash in their daily thing and then go to what they actually want to do. Right.
Moro, your take. I want to hear your take.
Yeah, so I mean, this one's tricky because there's two ways we can approach it, right? Like, do we ever?
Oh, sorry. Let me just interrupt you real quick. A big reason. I mean, I want to hear everyone's take, but a big reason why I want to specifically hear Moro's take is I know Morro is like that min-maxer guy in every MMO he touches. Very reputable person, by the way. If you guys aren't familiar with Morro, definitely give him a shout, or definitely give him a follow. Min-maxer, great reputation in all the communities he plays in, or that he's a part of, and he's played a lot of motherfucking MMOs. A lot. Sorry. I digress.
Yeah, so like, I don't like the time gates. I don't really think anyone likes the time gates. I don't think they make the game more fun. They're just there to slow people down who play 12 hours a day so that it's not too imbalanced. But like you already pointed out, this game has a really low vertical ceiling.
And that,
yeah, it's first of all, it is already pay to win, and it has a really low vertical ceiling. So like, what are we trying to do here?
Exactly.
Those two goals don't really
fucking
go together.
Bro.
So I think the question is, do we ever think, if there was enough outcry and like enough feedback, do we actually think that they might remove the tokens and the time gating? Because I would, if that's possible, then like, I would love to harp on that. I just don't know how realistic that is. There's definitely ways we could make the token system better. So that's kind of like the other way the other angle we could approach this from. But do you guys think that like if enough people were like, yo, we're tired of this like daily token like BS, do you think they might actually change it?
Generally, no fucking shot. But if it's ever going to work, it'll be this game. Where NCSoft stock price is like fucking 2 cents for 1 billion shares. They're at an all-time low. That we can very clearly see AGS has massive Omega fucking influence over this game, right? And all their money has come from the West. Negative players play this in KR. If it ever could happen, it would be with this game right now. But it would only start. It's only possible and only be started if everyone was bitching about it. Like literally the entire Western community would have to be like on board. Yeah. Like universal, universal outcry. Like, how like it was almost like what is it? Like the nighttime PvP thing with the with eclipsing. You know how like it was overwhelmingly the majority that were constantly, it wasn't just the majority, it was like a constant outcry of it. Then I think we could possibly cook something up, but it's up to the community.
Yeah, and because, dude, this is like a plague all over the whole gaming industry. Let's be honest. This like mobile game design that's now creeping into PC games and MMOs, and it's been like that for a minute. And it's always bad. Like this is what ruined Lost Ark for me too. It's like this daily chore, cycle.
100%. I'm just glad that we've got some stuff on the horizon that kind of go away from that, but that's a different topic to be said. Joey, what are your thoughts, man?
I'm just thinking about the dimensional contract tokens. Like you know how we have dungeons and stuff. Like there's not enough ways to gain more of these tokens right now. It's either you go nighttime or you buy it from the battle pass. Okay, and even that's limited.
So right now we for those of you watching on YouTube, for right now in AGS, if you're watching this, maybe we can clip this. We have about 1,300 viewers on watching this podcast right now. I want you guys in chat right now to type whether or not you would prefer to keep the time-gated system, like 10 contracts a day, 2 dungeons a day, whatever that may be, or if you would prefer an ungated experience. So would you prefer gates or no gates? Type it in chat right now. Just spam it in chat so that we can see your guys' opinions, the majority.
Could we get a poll?
We could get a poll, but the poll's not going to combine our chats. I think it's better that we just see this visual here. Also, no
gates.
No gates. Nobody likes gates.
Okay, well, somebody timeout said he doesn't count. No gates.
So, all right. How do you feel about Throne and Liberty right now? I mean, we are limited with what we know in the coming months, but we got Talandre, we got a lot of juice. How do you guys feel about Throne and Liberty for the next 6 months? Give me you guys' honest takes, honest opinions.
With what's currently on the roadmap, there's not. I'm not excited. I'm assuming there's going to be stuff that we don't know about yet. So I think in that sense, the game has potential. But yeah, if the game just stayed like this for 6 months, no way. If it stays like this for 3 months, that's already way too long.
I mean, it's already another game.
Yeah, I mean, look at the chat. Look at the chat. And here's the thing. The reality is this: when the majority of people feel this way, it doesn't mean all of those people are going to quit. A lot of the people in my chat are not going to quit anytime soon. But it means that there are a lot of people that will and are already starting to. And I've said this for a very long time, guys. Like, Talandre is all great, but everyone was like, oh, we need Talandre right now. And we did to a certain degree, right? But I was like, hey, I agree with you. We need Talandre, but just know the sooner we get to Talandre, the sooner we get to having nothing after. You know what I mean? Like, the only major juice that's on the horizon that we know of are the raids, which is exciting, but it's not transformative to the degree of Talandre was like, right? Talandre really had a lot, like it changed a lot, new vertical progression gear, new this and that, right? So what would it take for you guys to be excited? Yeah, sorry.
With all that new stuff coming from Talandra, right? You say like, what do we think the game's gonna look like in 6 months? I mean, even if they had a whole new set of content ready to go, I don't even think that would, like, tier 3 would say Draco Rift was done. I don't even think that would save the game, because we have a lower player count now than a week before Talandra. There's less people playing the game now than a week before Talandra, at least on Steam, via Steam charts. Like, there's just
how many people? What's the peak concurrent right now?
So, right now it's 23K right now. It dips down to like 12K at night, and it didn't dip down to 12K before Talandra. They would sit at like 15 at the very bottom. So I don't know, like there's no way that they can continue going with the way that they've been going, because people just aren't interested. We've experienced the content that they spent time developing, which was Talandra, and if they just make Draco Rift the same thing as Talandra, the game's doomed. Honestly, there's no way that people are going to keep playing it. Now, if we want to talk about the whole like time gating thing real quick, I think that they should, if people don't want time gates and people do want time gates, just make a server that's time gated and a server that's not. Yeah, it would be a little bit more development work, but you would have a lot more people play this game if there were no time gates in global, right? You would appease, like, at least for the AGS version of the game, they should create a server that has no time gates and figure out how to do that. At least try around with it, a fresh start server, right? Now, they would have to figure out other ways to monetize the game if they took out all the time gates, because that's why we have them all, is for people to be able to swipe past the gates in whatever situation it may be. So are you guys okay with them just like selling even more power to make up for the fact that they're getting rid of some of the time gates? Because I feel like that's what's going to end up happening.
I don't know if they will actually make less money from that, man. I mean, they probably assume that, but I think that's part of the problem, is that all these companies, they like, I don't know, they took some marketing class in college that said that you make more money if you time gate or whatever, if you use these token systems. But I just don't think it's a true assumption. I think, first of all, if you have more players, you make more money. If you have higher retention, you make more money. And second of all, even if the economy starts flooding with more items, that doesn't mean you make less money. Like, selling one item for $100 is not more money than selling 10 items for $20. So I think they could easily still profit if they have, you know.
You know, those guys on Reddit. Sorry,
prices get flooded.
I try to Reddit you, you know? It's like, actually, in some countries, 20 is equal to... It's like, sorry. I couldn't agree more. So what would you guys say they need? What do you guys think they need to add to the game to make it more exciting for you guys to be like, oh shit, yeah, I'm in it. Let's fucking go.
Battlegrounds.
Battlegrounds.
I'm telling you this right now.
World versus world.
I love Battlegrounds. I think I agree with you, but there's no chance adding Battlegrounds is all of a sudden for the next 6 months going to make this game like just a top tier game all of a sudden, to the point where it's like all the doomer perspectives, all of the skepticism, all of that's just gone just because of BGs now. No? For sure it's good, but
it's not going to be enough.
Yeah, 100% not enough. All right.
It's that.
Okay, ad break over. Let's begin. So we just got done talking about the direction of the game. I do want to move on to bugs and exploits, but before we do, and this is going to kind of tie into bugs and exploits anyways, let's talk about AGS. Let's talk about AGS real quick. I think first and foremost, people need to understand that there's a very big difference between the developer and the publisher. There's only so much that AGS can actually do. But let's be real here. AGS does seem to have a lot of pull with this one. I feel like more so than any other publisher working with a Korean developer. Just my personal opinion based off of my personal experience. With that said, panel, how do you guys feel about AGS with Throne and Liberty? Do you guys think they've been doing a pretty good job? Pretty shitty job overall? What do you guys think? Dank, let's start with you, man. Let me know in chat too.
AGS has actually handled this pretty well. Could they've done a better job? Absolutely, right? Like there's certain things that could have been changed to make it a little bit more friendly in the West, but they're a damn good publisher, man. They do a really good job at publishing games and like getting eyes on it and stuff. Unfortunately, people are starting to lose faith in them. If you look at the New World player count, it was 900,000 people purchased New World whenever it came out. Lost Ark had 1.3 million people play it. That was a free-to-play game, though. And Throne and Liberty only had like 300,000, as far as PC players go on Steam, come and play it. And I really think that they are trying their best, but it's just they're a little out of touch. They don't really make any real development decisions on the future of the game, but they still have like a heavy hand, I feel like, in the decisions over there. I don't really know how the relationship between AGS and NCSoft goes with updates, if
none
they
of us
give
do
them suggestions or what.
Yeah, none of us do exactly, yeah.
I feel like most of those good changes that we got were actually NCSoft, because this game started turning for the better in Korea. Like, I started playing the game in like March or April, right after the global beta that they had. I started playing in Korea, and the game just got such massive improvements over that time. And I just don't really see too many different changes in between global and Korea, really. Like, they spoke in this big newsletter about, oh, well, we're going to make all these things more fair in the West. And in reality, all they really did was take away the little extra pass that you could buy, which most people want anyways, because it gave you like the free slots and lets you do your contracts faster. Like that was not what people wanted taken out as far as fair play, But if I had to rate Amazon's job of how they've done publishing this game, right? We have to remember they're publishing it, not developing it. I would probably still give them like a 6.5 out of 10, like pushing a 7. They've done a terrible job at managing exploits and bugs and stuff like that, but they did a good job at publishing the game, you could say.
Morrow, your thoughts? I'll let you take it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the clearest window we have into AGS's influence is Tico talks. That's really the only time we can actually see like clearly what AGS is thinking and what they're prioritizing. And I think Tico, like 80% of the time, is pretty on point. Like, he seems to know how the game feels. He seems to play the game himself.
He does.
Yeah. And so I think that there's got to be some good feedback coming from AGS. But like Dank said, I think that NCSoft was already doing a pretty good job of incorporating feedback before that, like just the combat overhaul and, removing autoplay, all the other things that the players really seem to have strong reactions about. Even little things like, trait resonance being too much RNG, and so they add a system where you can force it, and now that's even cheaper. Like, they do seem to just take feedback in general, and they do it pretty quickly. But I'm sure that Tico is, giving them some decent feedback. I do think the biggest drawback with AGS, also agreeing with Dank here, is the way they've handled bugs and exploits. Like, they did not. The way they handled the exploits recently, and the way they're still handling like people botting in Black Anvil is like, it's just a joke. Right?
Do me a favor.
No enforcement at all.
Do me a favor for the people that are watching at home that may not be aware of how these bugs were taken care of, what these bugs are, these exploits. Could you just give us a quick rundown as to what happened and how it was handled and where you disagree with how they handled it?
Yeah, so there's two big ones that were just covered. So the first one was people exploiting in dimensional trials. So you could do tier 15, or in some cases people were going all the way to like tier 20 dimensional trials using exploits, like basically just standing places you shouldn't be able to stand and hitting the boss from outside the arena, things like that. And supposedly people who didn't use those bugs were going to get rewarded, and people who did use them were going to get punished. in practice, those leaderboards are still cooked. There's still people with a bunch of bugged runs on the leaderboard right now, weeks after this was announced. They said it's going to be taken care of eventually. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But on top of that, a lot of the people that exploited still got the bonus that you were only supposed to get if you didn't exploit. And, you know, they all got a warning on their account. Okay, whatever. Like, I don't think anyone should get permabanned over dimensional trials. It's not that big of a deal.
Sure.
But still, like, the fact that they gave the reward to people who clearly exploited it makes them look pretty silly.
Yeah.
And then the other one is the botting in Black Anvil. And there's people still right now, anyone can go look. I'm pretty sure this is happening on every single server. You can still go look and find people botting right now, even after they supposedly handed out these 3-day bans. Tons of people who botted for weeks did not receive a ban to begin with, and they're still egregiously doing it, like right in AGS's face. You could just go and look and see them doing it, and it's very obvious. It's
Real
not
quick,
subtle at all.
Dank and Morrow, if you guys are able to get in game and show the botting spot and are able to pull it up, I'll pull it up on this podcast to get a visual. If you guys can, if you stream it, then I can just overlay it here. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and
Morrow.
And to be fair, like I don't want to witch hunt people too hard, because some people in Black Anvil legitimately are just sitting there like semi AFK,
Sure,
you know, with the button or whatever while they watch YouTube. Not everyone out there is botting, so don't like go out there and freak out. But some people are blatantly botting. Like you can see their rotation. You can see that, okay, every exactly 5 seconds they cast this spell, and then every 5 seconds later they cast this spell. Like some of it's not subtle at all.
for sure. Joey,
Yo, what up?
thoughts?
Regarding the bots,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of them, bro.
y-
But
y-
sometimes the
yeah.
thing is,
Mhm.
people get away with, even if they're not botting themselves, they just join a bot party. They just AFK there, and you can't get punished for AFKing. Right? You're not breaking any rules by AFKing on a spot. But the one that's actually doing the botting, you know, some of them are not getting banned. Some of them are, but yeah, it is like
You have a Black
it's-
Anvil
they've
weapon?
remained. What? Sorry,
Do you have one? Do you have a Black Anvil weapon?
I have one Black Anvil shard.
There it is. Oh, shard.
That means I never.
Oh, shard.
Yeah,
Okay.
one.
God.
That's how you know I don't do any of these. And I don't run around trying to kill mobs. It's just
Yeah, he
I just
great
pull up-
success and sold the other one, boys.
nah, I don't have it.
You
bro.
know that?
Like,
you-
look,
how do you guys know that Black Anvil weapon trait that was listed on the auction house? That was Joey. You know, that was. I was
man,
kidding.
It's still
you see
winning.
this shit? Wait, let me. You see that shit? I have it. I have two now. Congratulations.
100. Holy.
Wait, you just
We
wait.
got.
two,
We got.
wait, did you just get one
I
now?
got two. I don't know.
Oh,
Bro's literally standing there right now farming
he's a
it.
bot. He's a damn
No,
bot.
I'm not a bot. I don't do the botting thing. But yeah, I only have two, so I don't have any Black Anvil weapons.
Hmm.
You know, I wish they would add more options to farm these things so that we don't just have to AFK on that spot,
Hmm.
basically.
How do you feel about AGS, Joey?
How do I feel about
Yeah,
AGS?
have they
They've
been doing a
been
good
very
job, bad job?
consistent in terms of the way they handle bugs and exploits since you worked. But everything else in terms of content, they've done a great job for TL. That's for sure. Because the roadmap, if I compare it to like New World, was looking vastly different. Like the New World roadmap was not as good as the TL roadmap is. So when they make these adjustments for the global players based on the feedback that Tico gets or wherever their channels are, they actually make the changes. Like you can actually see them implement these changes. Especially now, recently we have the Illusion Workshop, but I do believe that it's a little bit too late. A little bit too late. I think they should have added this Illusion Workshop when the
At
game was
launch.
popping.
At launch,
They could have made so
Yeah.
much more money.
I agree.
And if they really wanted to make a lot of money in these MMOs, it's cosmetics.
For sure.
It's not it's not about the pay to win. It's not about the losing. It's cosmetics.
Cosmetics, yeah.
If you got really good cosmetics that people can customize down to the finer details of their characters, they're going to swipe a lot. They're gonna pay for that because they want to make their character look the best, however they prefer it to be. You know, in terms of
Mm.
I've
Because of
actually
revenue.
been saying that recently. Like Path of Exile, they sell like skill effects. Like you can like change the color of your skills or whatever. Like sometimes that helps with FPS and stuff.
Mhm.
And as long as that's just for you and it's not for somebody else, so that it's not like you have like rainbows flying around the screen in PvE or PvP, right? Like lion cats going across the screen, you know, strobing out on you. Like I think that would be a way for them to, you know, supplement some of the time gates or whatever that they feel like they're making money from. Like PoE makes money straight off of cosmetics. That's all the game makes money off of. You look at Fortnite, they make money off of cosmetics. You look at League of Legends, they make money off of cosmetics. Those 3 games are extremely successful monetarily. They don't have any pay to win. Not a single one of them. I don't know. No time gates either.
No time gates. Crazy.
No time gates. No time gates.
So
More game modes. More game modes, bro.
So do you, the question is this, chat. Actually, yeah. Let's do this. We're gonna start talking about these bugs and exploits, but real quick, let me know in chat what you guys think. Give me a rating 0 through 10. How well has AGS done so far? Obviously, like don't just think about the good, don't just think about the bad. From launch all the way till now, 0 to 10, what would you guys rate AGS and how they've handled Throne specifically? Let's see it in chat. Bugs and exploits. All right, let's start with let's start with which one should we start with? First, let's talk about the Q block scripting and the cheating. Yeah, this is definitely needs a little bit more attention. How many people do you think are actually cheating with this? Because here's the thing, a lot of people do just kind of cry, oh, he's cheating, just because they get wrecked. There's a lot of that, more than you would know, right? There is. Or the random, I coincidentally just happened to hit Q here and Q blocked type of thing, right? But there are also a good amount of people, surprisingly, that are cheating using these scripts. Your thoughts? How many people are actually cheating? Let's hear it.
I would say that on global, I would say that it's easier for me to guess how many, like the percent of people that are actually cheating that are called cheaters, and that's probably like 20% at best. And the amount of people that are actually cheating is like,
okay.
yeah, the people that are actually cheating, or that are actually like they're scripting, versus like there's easily 5 times the amount of people saying that people script than people actually script, right?
Right. Wait, sorry. What's sorry, I apologize. 20% is what? Sorry?
20% of the amount of people that are accused of scripting are actually scripting.
Okay, 20% of that are accused. Okay, of that are accused. So
Yeah.
how many? Yeah.
Probably like out of the actual, now if we're just
Okay.
talking PvP players, because people aren't going to use scripts for PvE,
Yeah.
as far as I know, right? Just
I
PvP
do.
players.
You do.
Gotta hit them perfect blocks, dude. Probably 0.5% of the total player base, including PvE, and like maybe 3 to 5% of the PvP player base actually uses exploits. If I had to guess.
I mean, it is extremely discouraging. I see someone in my chat. I see someone in the chat saying, enough for me to have quit. And that's understandable. Because at the end of the day, it only takes a few instances of it happening by multiple people for you to be so turned off, even if it's 0.1%, right? I won't forget it. I don't know if Joey still has the clip. Joey sent me a clip back before launch, global launch. We were PvPing, and this was it you that was? It was you in the clip. So
That was me. I was just doing the minions.
Check this out. This was a wake up call for even me when I saw this clip. I was like, holy shit, that is hard confirmation. So Joey, if I remember correctly, Joey was in stealth with his expo, and he was pretty much solo on a blob because he was trying to. This was back when Queen Bell was crazy strong. and the strat was to just shotgun multi-shot, right? A bunch of fucking people, melt them down, burn them down, then kill them. So Joey was stealth, okay, and with a huge blob, right? And that blob was not fighting his blob. It was just Joey solo. And Joey multi-shots from stealth, which has a collision knockback, which means it's Q blockable.
Yeah,
and
it's
I
pure attack.
shit you not, there was like 6 people that perfect dodged it. That
from stealth, and they
From
were
stealth.
not doing anything.
So,
They
yeah.
were not fighting anyone.
So let me
They were just standing there.
yeah. So real quick, there's a blob of people, and then Joey in stealth by himself. So there is no fight going on where it was like coincidental. Joey is by himself, okay, from stealth, multi-shot, insta AoE multi-shot from the stealth, and like 6 people perfect dodged it. And that's when I was like, okay, this shit is actually more prevalent than I thought. That's insane.
Yeah.
And that was from one of the top guilds at the time in KR. So this is why when people are like accusing some of these top guilds, oh, this guild, they're a bunch of scripters. The reality is most of them obviously don't cheat. But it only takes like 5 or 6 in one guild for it to be just cancer, and people are going to quit. And that shit, believe it or not, it exists. I fucking saw it with my own eyes. And if it existed
Kanon.
then, it certainly has to exist in global. No? Yeah.
Have you ever experienced when you're fighting a Dominion, someone is morphed, you shadow strike them from Envy, and they're morphed, and you see a perfect dodge while they're morphed. It's proof, 100%.
See, that's what
Like you can't Q block while morphed.
See, this
This
is the
guy
thing, right?
Q
Like,
block during the morph while he's morphed as a little animal or
for
a
sure,
panda,
for sure.
and you see a perfect dodge on him while he's morphed sprinting. Like that's happened to me multiple times.
For me, it takes a
I've
lot.
seen it.
For me, it takes a lot it takes a lot to say this person's cheating. He's objectively cheating. You know what I mean? Like I have to for me, I kind of see it as like I'm the jury, and you have to prove to me he's guilty type of mindset. And the clip that Joey and what Joey's talking about right now, it's like that is definitive proof. You know what I mean? That is like
No, you cannot perfect block without leaving morph. So you would see the guy dodging as you attack him with a fury attack, but he didn't. He was morph while moving. And it showed perfect dodge.
Moro, you are in a top guild alliance on NA right now. Well, used to be. Welcome to the retirement club. I'm sure you'll join another one. But what's your experience like? Have you felt it? Have you not felt it? Are you cheating? Are your friends cheating? What's going on?
I don't think it's that common. I don't know if it's just like maybe different groups that are fighting or whatever, but it also could be the content that I'm doing too. Like if someone is scripting in 200v200, you're never gonna really notice that. Maybe if you were like fighting them off to the side. I haven't seen a whole lot of stuff that I'm super suspicious of. Every once in a while, I would see something.
That's suspicious. I'm just kidding. Of course you haven't, Moro. What guild were you in again?
When you're fighting against like really good players, they're gonna block your stuff. Like a lot of these skills are telegraphed. They're not that hard to block. When you have 1,000 hours in the game, you're gonna be like, it's hard to land a CC on like a Ravager with 1,000 hours. They're gonna dodge your stuff. It doesn't mean they're cheating. I saw people cry wolf so much about scripting that it made me kind of be like, bro, I just don't think that many people are cheating.
Yeah.
However, I do think it's been going on for so long now that it is going to be a major problem because people have learned that there's no punishment for it. And some of this stuff, like being able to block while you're morphed and you don't unmorph, that should scare people because that's not just a script. That's a behavior that's not normally possible that is now possible with third-party software. That means there's probably a lot of other things that you can do with behaviors or with stats or buffs or like who knows what is possible with third-party software beyond just scripting that could be ruining PvP, and you would like never be able to figure it out without AGS or NCSoft properly investigating and dealing with that stuff behind the scenes.
I think that's concerning though. I think you're 100% right, but that's what makes it concerning, and I feel like that's the reason why a lot of people that do quit are quitting, because of that, because they know that it's like, how are they going to actually fix this? You know, if it's out and it's scriptable, it's like, is this something that can be fixed? Is it something that can be addressed? Or is this going to be kind of like the whole botting situation where it's a seesaw effect, where it's like AGS can maybe put some kind of thing in place, but that's just going to get, you know, beaten by the scripts and the exploiters, right? And it's a back and forth battle, because that would be off-putting. You know, like if I knew that even 5% of the players in competitive guilds were cheating or had access to cheats or could cheat in the reality is they're probably not going to get banned because it is easy to mask. And like, what, like, is it practical that AGS can investigate every single person for this? Like, no, that's not practical, right? So it's like, that would be certainly, like, I think it's understandable if you quit the game because of that.
Yeah, so this reminds me of cheating that happened in other games, because like if people are blatantly cheating, then that's one thing. But what's more insidious is when people are only like kind of cheating a little bit.
Yeah.
Like in BDO, you could cheat and remove your cooldowns. And there would be people that would go around that would just hit you with like lightning strike 10 times in 1 second. And it's like, okay, obviously that guy's cheating. But what about the guy who just like removes his cooldowns when he needs them every once in a while, or has like 20%
100%.
less cooldown? Like there's so many ways to do it you would never get caught for unless someone was like laser focused on you.
Yeah.
Or like speed hacking and Darkfall. Like if someone was zooming around the screen, you obviously knew it. But there were a lot of people that would just have like 10 or 15% move speed hacks, and you wouldn't really notice it. They'd be able to kind of chase you down, and it was kind of subtle. But like again, unless you were laser focused, you're not going to pick up on it.
This is the reason why I think when you punish players, of course, depending on the offense, but if we're talking about cheating, when you punish players cheating to this degree, when you punish players, you need to set precedents, right? Like it needs to be a harsh ban. That's why, you know what I'm saying? Like if you knew that there was a chance that you're going to lose your fucking character that has arc boss weapons and everything, if you're cheating, then I feel like you would definitely see less cheating for sure. Because like, would you risk it? You know what I mean? Like, would you risk it? Sure. Some people will say yes, but it's also like, you know, there's more people that would say no. So this kind of goes into our, you know, like we're talking about bugs and exploits here and AGS and punishing. I you know, a lot of people are not happy with how they went about the Black Anvil punishment. 3 days, slap on the wrist. It's actually better to get suspended for 3 days and have a Black Anvil weapon than the other way around. And this is, I get if you ban too many people, you might kill your game at this stage of the game, but this is why I think you need to set precedents early when you have a big player base. And it doesn't matter if you ban fucking, you know, 10,000 players. It doesn't matter. It's not going to hurt your bottom line at all. It's only going to actually strengthen your core audience, because then people have the security of knowing that cheaters are going to get the boot. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about the Black Anvil weapons situation? Are you guys...
You can't let them keep the spoils.
100%.
You can't let them keep it. Like a 3-day ban, if everything gets removed. Okay, like the Black Anvil thing wasn't such a big deal that we need to ban people for 30 days. Like 3 days probably is a fine punishment, but only if they don't get to keep their stuff. Like if you had a vendor in the game right now that sold Black Anvil weapons and the cost was a 3-day ban, every single player in the game would buy
100%. 100%.
I'll buy it.
Yep. That's a very, very, very...
Or
very
they can give every single
bro.
player that didn't bought an anvil weapon and remove the anvil weapon from the ones that did bought.
That's one thing about the compensation with the dimensional trial dungeons, right? What about the chaos runes that we missed out on, bro? For not running all those dungeons.
True.
You know, like they gave us a 600 chest and none of them were chaos chances. They were normal, precious purple rune boxes. Like, and they got to keep all the chaos runes and everything. Yeah, where's the chaos pity system?
Where's the pity system, bro?
The entire conversation making me want to quit the game. Honestly, man, we got to be real about this stuff. You know, Silver Wolf, at the end of the day, bugs and exploits, right now it is a concern with the game. Whether you're, and listen, if you are on the side of the fence where you're more positive and you want what's good for the game, we're doing it. We're doing it by talking about this stuff straight up. You know, like you need to talk about this stuff and bring it to light for them to make a better system. You know, so yeah, I agree. I think how they handled the Black Anvil weapon situation was terrible. I genuinely do. I think they should. I agree with Morrow. They should have removed the weapons from everyone. I think they should have had more than a 3-day ban. And if they just kept the 3-day ban, I'd for sure remove the weapon, right? And yeah, I just right now a lot of people have been talking about quitting the game because of all the bugs and exploits. Because it also, from a bug perspective, it also feels like there's a new bug every week, right? There's a lot of weapons, a lot of masteries, a lot of abilities, a lot of passives.
Like it. There is.
There's a lot, right? When it comes to these issues, I personally put blame on NCSoft when it comes to this type of stuff. I think NAEU is insane at discovering these bugs and issues, but believe me, they've been around in KR for the longest time, and that was on NCSoft, by the way, for not addressing him prior to our, you know, like they don't just appear for global out of nowhere. They had to fix them for Korea too, so they just were undiscovered in KR. So
there are some bugs that appear in global that weren't in Korea.
Sure, for sure. Not,
I'm one, but
you're
right.
Yeah. So just obviously, I'm not speaking in absolutes here. I never do. But yeah, generally, most of these exploits, right? Already they're in Korea too. So these bugs, exploits, all of this is pretty off-putting, especially with how many bugs. I want to ask you guys: does Throne and Liberty, because sometimes it feels, you know, the grass is greener type of effect. Do you guys think Throne and Liberty compared to other MMOs is buggier? Not clunkier, okay, because we know that, but buggier. Do you guys feel like there's more bugs in Throne than there are in other games, or no? Huge 5,000 biddies.
Lately, I would say yes. I don't think I felt that way at launch. Like, I don't think I felt that way in T1. I think the game felt pretty crisp. But lately,
fair.
Yeah, a lot of abilities seem to not do what they say they do, especially since the skill mastery update. A lot of those seem bugged. Like, a lot of the new stuff they add doesn't seem polished.
What about the targeting thing? They still haven't fixed that.
The targeting, I feel like targeting got worse. Like, I feel like it got better after that first update with Talandre or whatever, whenever that was. And then, I don't know, for me, it just feels like the past couple of weeks, it feels like it's gotten worse for whatever reason. Yeah.
Yeah, ever since Talandra, I think it's been pretty bad. I mean, just general server performance, and I think that's a trickle-down effect, right? If the servers are performing badly, then we're going to run into more issues with, like, bugs and things overlapping. Like I don't know, ever since Talandra it's been really bad.
Yeah, the game's laggier, which is weird because
it is
supposed to be
laggier.
Performance improvements, and like there was lag in T1. Like Dev Smash would break a lot in T1, but dude, I feel like it never works in T2. Like every time I Dev Smash, it desyncs now, like 100% of the time.
I genuinely think
worse,
I genuinely think all these problems stem from the fact that Throne was originally a static combat mobile game. Yeah, I mean, look at NCSoft's previous titles. Ion, Blade and Soul, bro, all of these games, they're actually known to have products that, or games that have produced phenomenal combat. Ion combat and BNS combat was really good. Really good. And then Throne and Liberty, their flagship game in 2025 has this. You know what I mean? So it's like, what happened? You know, and I genuinely think it's because of the mobile issue. So it's like, is this one of those things where it's just like spaghetti code now? And they've just put in Band-Aid over Band-Aid and Band-Aid over Band-Aid, untying a knot only to inevitably have 70,000 more knots underneath it. It's just never going to get fixed because it's spaghetti code. And is that what it's going to be? Or is there actually light at the end of the tunnel? What do you guys think?
Yeah, when they go to the next engine and they rebuild the game from the ground up.
Would that even do it?
Too much money spent. Too much. Nah. Never do that.
I'm pretty sure they already announced their next Lineage game, by the way. I don't know if I think it is PC. I think it's Project something. I don't remember. I actually watched it on the Korean MMO channel. I'll look it up. I should probably cover it and post it to my YouTube. But Mora, you've played enough games. Does this game have a shot at fixing all this shit? Because it really does feel like a spaghetti code angle.
Yeah, I think it's fixable because a lot of these problems have gotten worse since Delandra. So I think that whatever changes they made can be unmade or can be made in a better way.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the issues with combat, like the combat in this game is not that complicated. If they could just catch up the feel and the clunkiness of this game to like 2004 WoW, we'd be in a pretty good spot. You know, like they're 20 years ahead. They should be able to at least catch it up to that. I don't see any reason why fundamentally the game can't reach that point. They're doing it very fast and they're making a lot of mistakes in the process, but given more time, yeah, I think they can smooth things out. I don't know if they will, you know, like it feels kind of 50-50. They could just easily make it worse just as easily as they could make it better, but definitely these things are fixable.
All right, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the chat. Let's have your messages pull up. That way the YouTube can get a better vibe as to what you guys think. Let's move on. So I told these guys expect 2 to 3 hours, and I think we're pretty much on that timeline. I want to talk about the PvP meta. This is the juice, right? This is what's going to get everyone in chat riled up. Okay, we all have our own opinions. Before we do, I think it is important that we are sharing our what's the best way to put this? I think it's important that we let you guys know where what perspective you're hearing. Okay, so a lot of you guys know from my channel, I play in SNS Expo. I've played a lot of Greatsword and SNS. Those are Greatsword has always been more of my main. My 3 mains I've put in the most amount of time is SNS Greatsword Dagger, and now SNS Expo is what I'm currently playing. I'm playing Raider, and I have played a good bit of Infiltrator Bow Dagger. That is my experience. Dank here, I'll let Dank. Well, Dank, real quick, why don't you tell us where your perspective is going to be coming from? What are you?
I like Staff Dagger and only Staff Dagger.
So Dank is a Staff Dagger guy, and Moro, what are you?
So I did Staff Dagger in Korea for Hyper Boost, and then for Global, I've played a bunch of melee stuff: Greatsword, Spear, Dagger, every combination of those 3.
Okay, right. Joey, what's your perspective?
Okay, I'm coming from playing Liberator, which is bow staff, but bow dagger, Scorpion, Shadow Dancer. We've also played Staff Dagger. Practically, I've touched every single DPS weapon aside from the Gladiator.
Gotcha.
Even just Dagger, I played.
Gotcha. Yeah, I should also add that too. I also played Spear and Gladiator. I pretty much played everything except for Staff and Wand. Okay, Staff and Wand are the 2 weapons that I never really put hours into. Obviously, I've played against them. So there's our biases out on the floor for you guys to see. Okay, now let's start this section off with one very simple question. Regardless of what you think is the problem, is the current meta fun? Yes?
No.
Or no?
No.
Chat, type it in chat. Is the current meta good/fun? Yes or no? We all say no.
It's gonna be a no for me, dog.
It's gonna be a hard no for me.
Regardless of what you think the meta is, it's just when you go out there and you're PvPing, do you feel like it's pretty fun? Like when it comes to class balance and all that stuff. I saw one yes in there.
That guy's got a Cordy.
I have a Cordy. I have a Cordy, by the way.
Are you actually having fun with the Cordy right now?
I'm
like,
having
is
a
it enough
blast.
To make PvP feel okay.
100%. I'm having. Oh no! I'm sorry. I'm having a blast spinning, but I'm not having fun with the game still. the meta, and we'll talk about this. I'll definitely elaborate for my perspective for sure.
The guy who said yes says he does have a Cordy.
Yeah. And I know
Yeah,
why.
there you go.
I know. I obviously know why. And I guess we could start with that, right? Okay, so no, actually, let's not start with that. Here's my take on the current meta state. Okay, and I want to hear your guys' opinion on what you think the meta is. And then, so feel free to agree or disagree. I think right now the TTK, if there's a tank and healer, is way too high. Like, it doesn't end. Immortal. And the TTK with DPS, if there is no tanks and healers, is insanely fast. So it's like high TTK and low TTK. I think healers are way too tanky for the amount of healing output they have, which is kind of combined and together. And I think that I think a large part of the reason why the meta doesn't feel good is because of how powerful tanks and healers are and how much impact they have and what the combat experience feels like when you have geared tanks and healers in said fight. Now, obviously, there's some other issues that I also think that needs to be tweaked. But I think that's the core. Do I think Expo SNS is overpowered? Absolutely is. But I don't think you start with the Cordy. I think you start with the SNS. I think you start with SNS. I think you start with tanks and healers, because without Cordy right now, it's gonna. I feel like it's. I mean, if you're a Cordy, it's fun to kill DPS, but I assure you, even with a Cordy, you're not killing endgame geared tanks and healers too, even with your spin. Okay, unless you have a huge blob on you, which doesn't happen all the time. So right now, it's like if I wasn't playing a Cordy Expo, I feel like I would be having an absolute miserable time, because Cordy is the only thing that allows me to kill, which makes it overpowered, because any weapon that allows you to kill in a meta where you're not supposed, you can't really kill, makes, you know what I'm saying? So it's almost like it's necessary, but it's not necessary to counter this crazy ass meta that we have. But that doesn't justify that being not touched either. I think Cordy I think the SNS Expo Cordy also needs to be changed, or I think that needs to be adjusted. But again, I think the core issue right now is with healing and tanks. That is my personal opinion. Dank, why don't you tell us yours? How do you feel about this meta?
Well, everybody's a tank as long as there's a healer around. I think tanks are kind of almost useless in the current meta. Like, they're there, and sure, they like pull people in and stuff, but everybody's just as tanky as a tank as long as they're running the meta comp, which is double healer in their party. Like, you could just have a greatsword user use Devo. Everybody's extremely tanky that's running a triple evasion build or a triple endurance build, which is the meta. It's greatsword spears. You know, half the game is Vanguard users. Like, endurance is insane. It's way too high. Evasion is way too high in the game. Some builds have no possibility of countering the amount of like hit that you need in order to counter the evasions, or the amount of crit that you need. Some builds just cannot get it online. You can't counter an endurance build unless you have a dagger right now, because you're not getting enough crit to do so. Right? There's just no way.
Before so I do want to, so obviously open discussion, chat, feel free to chime in, but I do want to get all of our opinions on the meta first before we have this, debate and going back and forth. Moro, tell me your take on the current meta. How do you feel what it is?
I think you summarized it pretty well with the time to kill thing. It's either way too high or way too low.
Okay.
And
right.
It has to be somewhere in the middle, like across the board. Like these two weird extremes that we have are not really that fun on either side.
Pretty okay. All right. What do you think? What do you think is over two? What do you think the core problem? Where do you think the core problem stems from?
So blood devotion needs to be reworked. You need to actually risk yourself when you use it. Like a tank that is blood devoing 5 people should die 90% of the time. Like that's a way too high risk play. That shouldn't just be a button that you press every time it's up to make your group invincible. It's really silly. I suspect it's not even working properly. Like if you read what the skill does, then you actually go test the damage you take. I don't even know if it's intended to be as strong as it is. But either way, it needs to get changed. That's a huge part of the problem. Healers need to have some kind of healing power stat that they have to itemize into. You can't just have a healer who's built the same as a tank who gets full benefit of their healing. Like tanks have to build tanky, DPS has to build damage, healers need to have to build healing. There needs to be something for them to itemize into so that they actually have to have trade-offs like everyone else.
I totally agree. Joey, let's hear your take. I do want to add one thing to my position on this. I should have probably added this with my take. I told you guys how I feel about like the tanks and the healers, right? I think healing, I think one of the core issues with healing is that you are way too tanky for how much you heal. And I think you need to choose between the two. I'm okay with someone being able to deal insane amounts of heals, but it needs to be at the risk of being squishy. Or if you want to be immortal and just like be super tanky, that's fine, but your heals have to be lackluster to the point where you can't carry a group. Same way with damage. It's like if you want to be tanky, you shouldn't be able to do crazy amounts of damage. This applies to tanks as well, to everything. General rule of thumb is you deal damage, you do heals, you're squish. You do squish, or you're tanky, and you sustain, then you don't deal damage or less damage. And then like, anywhere in between that spectrum is what I feel like the game should force you into as a general principle rule, but it doesn't feel like the game is doing that. Joey, your take.
Okay, so my take about this Blood Devo meta, the most overpowered aspect of it is once a tank does a Blood Devo and he Q blocks, the damage his party member takes that gets transferred to him is being Q blocked. So he's taking 0 damage. So it becomes pretty much impossible to kill someone that's being Blood Devoed unless they get Curse Bomb, which is if they take damage that's more than the HP threshold, they die instantly through Blood Devo. And that's the only thing that can kill people right now. So the only counter to this ridiculous sustain 2-2-2 comp meta is to have people specifically geared towards mana burn.
It's mana burn.
And that means having a lot of weaken chance to counter people's weaken resist, because we've already known and we've already established that weaken resist will help counter anti-heals. Right? So if you have people that are dedicated to having these mana burn builds, you can eliminate all of the mana from the healers and the tanks, preventing them from endlessly rotating their defensives, which is like, imagine having a 3-2-1 comp, which is like 3 tanks, 2 healers, 1 DPS, and having like 100% buff duration, and they can keep their Blood Devo permanently up and pocket that 1 DPS forever, unless their mana is 0 all the time. And it's really unfun for everyone.
Yeah. So for those of you who are wondering why I had been talking about weaken resist before Talandre, now you know, motherfucker. All right, don't question me next time. I told you. I don't want to say I told you so, but I fucking told you so. Okay? It is a mana burn meta. That's what it is, man. That is the counter to what's happening right now. Mana burn fucking sucks. And guess what, guys? Get ready to see more of it, because it is the best play on the table. That's the way it is.
It's the only way to.
It's the best play on the table.
You're really, literally not killing.
And that, guys, to me, it's not fun. Any meta
It's
that
so boring.
right?
Yeah.
It's not fun.
You have to consider, like, because people are going to say, oh, well, there is a counter to it. But, like, that's not the full story. Just because something has a counter to it doesn't mean the game's going to be better.
Yes.
If the counter is super boring, then, like, that's not a good solution.
Yeah, it's not.
I agree.
And it's only easy to mana burn on like certain weapon combos, like if you don't have those weapon combos in your group, you're screwed. Like Staff, for instance, like you burn 100 mana per fireball on Fireball Barrage. Like if you don't have 10 stacks of burning, you're only burning 1,000 mana, and it's a 30-second cooldown, bro. Like they're gonna regen 1,000 mana during that 30 seconds anyways. Like it's not even gonna affect them. They need to add more of it, but they also just need to not make us run it at the same time. And I think I talked to you about it the other day. I don't even think Wand is the biggest problem. I think Bo's the biggest problem for the healing. Like, I've seen Bo staff users do 500k healing in an arena match, bro. Like, what? What? Insane.
Yeah, we saw 2 mil. Pretty sure I saw 2 mil healing in an arena match.
Oh, as a
Nowadays, it's
Wand
crossbows.
I think I've seen. Oh, sorry. You're talking about specifically Bo users. Gotcha. Sorry.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
I think the
500K
healing
just
is
Bo, yeah.
insane,
Yeah,
bro.
sorry.
Like, wild.
The only problem with that is that's the only thing they can do right now is heal.
Check-
Yeah.
Even if you spec into a full
Yeah.
damage,
I agree.
and you target a healer, you can't even kill them.
Real
You
quick.
They
can't even
should add
drop
more
them to half
damage
health. They
to
just
Bo.
laugh
Yeah.
at you.
And they need to buff Bo's damage and then just take away. I think personally, I think that the healing on Bo should be like a lifesteal effect or something, some kind of vamp, either spell or lifesteal of some way, shape, or form. Because for it to just heal all your party members like that much is crazy.
Well, you
bro.
can technically just remove Nature's Blessing and keep Healing Touch, but the Healing Touch healing is reduced by like 75%. So you still have a small amount of way to regen your HP, but not too OP to the point where people are just standing in front of you as a healer, a bow wand, and he's just not taking damage.
Yeah.
Because they put Blessed Barrier on themselves and their healing ticks for like 9k. For tick, it's kind of OP.
Real quick, chat.
They can cleanse anti-heal.
I want you guys in chat to tell me what you guys think is the problem right now with the meta. Let's open it up to the floor here. I want to hear your guys' thoughts. What is the problem, the biggest problem with the current meta? Let's see it in chat while we continue to talk about it. Actually, let me ask you. I'll ask you guys. Mora, what do you think? Where do we start with this? What do you think is the biggest problem, and how do we fix it? Where do we go?
So kind of what I already covered. I think
Yeah.
the two biggest things, Blood Devo needs to be looked at for sure.
Mm.
I don't even think it's working correctly. And then healing just has to get reduced. I know like healers always rage when you say this, but it just has to get reduced. Probably some of their defensive buffs need to chill out as well. Like that we already have this boring evasion meta where like 30 of your skills just don't work if someone has evasion. We don't also need now for even more of my skills to not work because that person has Blessed Barrier up. I do a fully charged guillotine while they're on the grounds and their health doesn't even move 1 point. Like it's just too many of your skills in this game don't do anything. And so we're all just standing here AFK looking at each other, pressing 1, 2, 3, 4. Nobody's health ever moves. It's just not fun. Like this stuff has to be toned down.
Yeah. And
Even if it does move, it just goes right back up.
yeah. And it
exactly.
probably feels even worse at the higher levels of play, right? Like the thing is, a lot of this that we're talking about, it's not happening all the time in like just pugs, lower competitive fields. But even then, you still see it, right? You will see this a lot for sure, even more. It'll be more exposed at higher levels of play, 100%. I cannot wait till AGS sees what Blue's Best in Guild tournament will produce. Because I assure you, this is what it's going to be. Tanks and healers dominating the field. And it's gonna just and the top guilds are just going to try to counterplay each other via mana burn and Cordy spinners, which he's limited the amount of spinners, I believe, to two per guild, right? I think that's what he did. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chap. I'm pretty sure you can only have 2 spinners, which means I mean, you guys obviously know what that means.
So that means unless the fight is a blowout. And I mean, this hurts to say because like I love what Blue is doing, and I think he's really good at putting on events.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be participating, and I want it to be as exciting as possible. But in reality, if we get 2 competitive guilds that are similar in power levels, that footage is going to be 30 people standing on top of each other, and as a viewer, it's not even going to look like anything is happening unless there's a Cordy spin, which are only limited to 2 per guild.
Yeah. Yep. 100%. See, this is the reason why in the beginning when we were talking about Cordy, this is the reason why I said we don't start with Cordy with this. You know what I mean? Because like especially when it comes to higher level play, which I know isn't going to be like it's not going to be the PvP experience for the vast majority, but it's almost like Cordy is needed to actually make a dent in some cases because of how overpowered it is. But it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's why I really feel like you start with the tanks and healers first, and then after adjusting that, you start adjusting the Cordy, the SNS Expo /Cordy. I honestly don't know what you'd want to adjust. I don't know if you want to adjust Spectrum, the passive from SNS, or if you adjust Cordy. Cordy's already been nerfed. I don't know which one. I'm not a balancer. I can identify issues, but I don't know if I'm the best at providing solutions to them. That's not my department, but I think that would be the order. I think that's the order that you do it. Bulwark is obviously very, very difficult, very, very strong as well. Dank, where do you start with this, man?
I mean, Blood Devo's OP. I think that maybe instead of just nerfing healers, since like healers hate to have the idea of like their healing numbers going down, they should just buff heal reduction, which they did a little bit, but currently like I can kill a tank as a staff dagger. Like I can kill a tank, but if they have a healer near them, then why am I even targeting that person? And I'm the class that's supposed to counter that class, right? Like a staff user is supposed to counter the tanks in this game. They're the one class that's supposed to do it, and we don't. We don't currently. Tone down bow healing. That's probably the only toning down that needs to happen. Healers are fine as far as wands go. I think that we need to again tone down the evasion and endurance. The game is too reliant on having like perfect chaos runes right now, which is just an unfun grind. Like nobody really wants to do that. Just like you were saying, if you build enough damage to actually kill somebody in the game right now, you're just going to die to one tap to pretty much anybody because you have to sacrifice any defensive possible. And that essentially makes you useless because anybody just looks at you and spits on you and you fall over, right? If you're actually hitting the 3,000 crit that you need in order to counter the endurance builds that are happening. And as somebody that is an evasion user, I think evasion is very bad for the game at its current levels as well. It's not just endurance. I think we're just in an endurance meta right now. Now we're starting to move into triple evasion now that we have resonance.
You'll see a lot more evasions now. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there's way more evasion users now. But both sides of the coin are just unfun. And the numbers need to be lowered because you have to put in too much work into your gear. Like you either have to get crazy nebula accessories or Cordy accessories in order to get your build online to fight normal defenses that aren't even hard to obtain anymore, right? Like I had 4,500 magic evasion when I wasn't even necessarily trying to before resonance came out. I was just stacking magic and ranged evasion and building damage, right? The numbers are just too high. I can't even reach 3,000 3,000 hit. So why is it possible for me to build 4,500 magic evasion? I think it's just way too overkill as a whole. We're in such a weird spot. Like just like you were saying, it's either takes way too long to kill people or they die instantly if they're the people that are meant to kill those people that take too long to kill. Like they just fall over and it makes them irrelevant. It's just too far of a spectrum. Maybe with a new tier of gear we'll get a shakeup in meta, but it's just not jiving. A lot of the competitive guilds are either falling apart or just taking a break from the game right now because it's so boring, man. Whether you're in arena or you're in GVG, at the high end of gear nobody is dying, and that's just not fun. Like it's unfun.
So I have a theory about this. I'm wondering what you guys think. Because obviously, like, they have to know, right? They have to know how stale the tank healer thing is, and yet it doesn't really seem like they're rebalancing or reacting to it. We have new weapons that are being leaked. Do you think long-term, NCSoft's solution is to add this, necromancer orb or whatever that has the ability to, like, purge buffs and reduce healing? Like, do you think that's going to be their solution, is to add a new tool to the game? And do you think that would be enough, or do you think that'd be the right way to do it?
Morrow, can you repeat the question? Sorry.
Yeah, so we're talking about how
Orban Gauntlet.
Tanks and healers are overtuned. People are too buff. People take too long to die. So we know there's new weapons coming out. If one of those weapons ends up being, like a necromancer, warlock, debuff type weapon where you're stripping buffs off of people or where you're reducing their defenses, is that, first of all, do you think that's what they're going to do? And second of all, is that a good solution? Like, will that take care of the problem?
For me personally, yeah, I think for me personally, you can't say that it can't. It could potentially address it, right? Like, this is strong, this is weak or strong, and then you have another thing, like different roles, I guess. You know what I mean? Like take a look at what Spear did to the meta in KR or in NA global, right? Large scale PvP, it was always just ranged and magic. I mean, ranged and magic is still big, right? But like ranged and magic evasion / endurance, whatever it is that you're going, and then like large scale melee, you just kind of avoid. But like when Spear became so incredibly meta, a lot of people start running melee evasion, it changed the meta quite a bit. All of a sudden people are just like running all these spears, AoE clumping big groups. You have to learn how to spread and all that stuff, right? Can Orb and Gauntlet shake up the meta? It could. I mean, maybe Orb is like a big anti-heal where it renders healing useless. Could that be a solution or a step in the right direction to counter healing? Yes. Is it in the right direction if right direction is countering healing? That is. I kind of misspoke. What I'm trying to say is, can that address, this is a better way to phrase it, can that address the healing? Yes. But is that the best way to address it? I don't know. I'm actually not sure at all. But it could definitely be meta shifting. What do you think, Dink?
I don't know, man. It's definitely could help. I think that if they really care about the issues that we've been speaking on, which is healing and tanks and the amount of damage that tanks are doing as well, right? Which has always been a problem. I was kind of talking about that a little bit while you were gone. They need to make the Gauntlet and Orb, if it is a single weapon, which I kind of think it's one single weapon, like a tank / support weapon. And then the classes that already have heal reductions, because we have lots of heal reductions in the game. I don't think that we need to have another one added. Just buff the ones that are already in the game, right? Because otherwise you're taking away from class identity from some builds if, lots of different builds can use it,
Yeah, I also think Gauntlet
is a good thing.
I also think Gauntlet's gonna be one weapon. It would make sense that it's two, right? I don't see why it wouldn't be two, but I feel like it will be one just because of the screenshot that Sko sent me, who's the owner of Questlog, the guy that puts Questlog together and all that stuff. When they data mine the files, they're like, one of the files, it lists out all the weapons, but the weapons that are listed on that specific folder or in that specific section, all the dual weapons are separated. So like sword and shield are separated, right? But then again, no, maybe I take that back. Maybe then again, maybe not, because dagger wasn't separated.
Orb
there.
and Gauntlet are separate, bro.
Yeah, the Orb and Gauntlet are definitely different weapons. But what I'm saying is, like, would they make Gauntlet a dual wield weapon like daggers and crossbows, or is it going to be a single weapon? At first, I was thinking maybe it will be a single weapon, just because the Gauntlet was just a single Gauntlet there. But now that I think about it, I think daggers on that page also were a single weapon, so maybe it is dual wield. I feel like gauntlets would have to be dual wield. No, I mean, it's just one gauntlet. That'd be so dumb. Unless it's like a support gauntlet, which I don't know.
Huge one.
Just one big ass fucking gauntlet.
Yeah, so I mean, like if you make it like a tank / support weapon with like shields and stuff like that, then that's what the actual tanks in the game are going to be running, instead of us having sword and shield wand and sword and shield greatsword users running around that are just blasting people's a-holes open. But I don't know, man. I hope that it spices it up, and I hope that like raid gear, whatever that may be, we have no idea, like also changes up the meta and helps alleviate some of these issues, because that's stuff that they could do in the short term that we already know is coming to the game that could, spice things up, right? There is the possibility of doing that. So it's not like there's no hope for the game unless there's like some crazy changes to the meta, because they could just fix things by adding in a couple other things, right? And we'll see if that happens, right? Like the meta's quite a bit different in tier 2 than it was in tier 1, and you give them another couple months and our meta might be very different, although I don't want to do this meta for another couple months.
Gauntlet might be the tank buster, the real tank buster.
That's true. Gauntlet might be One Punch Man, as Kanon said.
That's what I'm curious about that, but I also I'm kind of worried if that's the route they're going to go, is instead of rebalancing, we're just going to add this new thing that's a solution, because that could actually backfire and make the meta even more rigid. You already have only a handful of classes that are viable in these really large fights. And now, in order to counter that, you need another build that's also mandatory. So off-meta builds have even less space to play. Arena is going to be even more chunked because you're going to have the exact perfect 3-person comp where you can't do anything. Even if they do 12v12 battlegrounds, what if one team has only 1 orb and the other team has 3 orbs? It's not going to be enough to actually counter the tanks and healers on the other team, depending on how that lines up. So I don't know. I'm worried they're going to get just stuck going down this rabbit hole if they just keep trying to add new solutions rather than address the fundamental core.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really sure if fixing broken by adding more broken is the solution. I genuinely don't know. But I guess to kind of counter your point a little bit, I feel like all competitive arena matches or games, it will always be, assuming there's some kind of diversity, there will always be an ideal comp, right? Unless it's very skill shot focused, like Lost Ark PvP, even though it wasn't really a thing, it was kind of a thing in the beginning. Lost Ark PvP, there were meta classes, but it was there was some flexibility with the DPS. At the end of the day, you still did want one support, but there was a little bit of flexibility with what DPS classes you could choose. Wow, the arena MMO, it's last time I checked in 3v3s, I don't know if it's different now, but last time when I was kind of studying the arena, Fury Warrior 3v3s, nope, had to be Arms Warrior. Arms Warrior top tier,
Sharpened Blade.
Walkie, you know what I mean? It's Fury Warrior good for twos. It's I feel in arena it's always good. There's always going to be some kind of ideal 3-man comp. But in large scale PvP, I don't know, because what if there's some kind of dynamic where healers and tank, it's this healer and tank meta, but now you have orbs and gauntlets that counter that, but orbs and gauntlet is also countered by the current DPS classes here, so that would allow them to still have relevance. I don't know. I think off meta classes are always just going to be off meta classes. They're just never going to be sought out. But I don't know. And another thing is, who knows? Just because we don't know what is under development, a lot of things are under wraps, right? What if they're adding more abilities, maybe more skills? I know there was that guardian thing that they were trying to add to the game as well. Maybe there's some changes there. But you're right, I don't know if I would really, if that would be my top option, to fix broken with more broken. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I mean, there's pros and cons to both. They could go either way. I just know that what we have going on right now needs to change. That's all I know.
We've seen how they've nerfed a couple of weapons along the way already, and some classes are definitely dead, and you don't even see them. And it doesn't contribute to the fact that, this meta right now is filled with tanks and healers when you need more damage to deal with that,
So what I would say is my biggest concern, one of my biggest concerns with Throne Liberty is that, look, every meta, there's going to be an issue, right? I mean, let's be real here, guys. When has there not been some kind of thing that was overtuned or undertuned in any meta in any game, right? But I think the bigger problem right now with Throne is that right now we are now in a settle down period. What do I mean? Well, there's no major juice that's coming in NA. I think it's safe to presume, could be wrong, that there's not going to be new classes that are introduced that could maybe, what Morro's saying. I don't think even if that was the solution, we're not going to get that for a while. We are essentially the dead period or the boring period or the downtime period, whatever you want to call it, that we're about to go through for the next few months. I feel like it's bad that period we're gonna have to. It's going to be in line with this meta. I'd rather have it being a DPS meta that where time to kill is so fast, right? I'd rather actually have that type of meta than this current meta that we're having for if we had to settle on a meta for a few months. And if it's this meta for the next few months, I really think it's going to have an enormous impact on the player count of this game, on the player population of this game. I genuinely do. I think you're going to see a lot of more competitive guilds start quitting because it's simply not fun. I think you still will always have the trickle of, you're always going to have the casual players that are just leaving on their own accord. And that combination on top of the fact that content, you guys have also said the content is stale. Everyone did not like the current, direction of it's not the direction of the current content, the progression day to day. So like when the progression day to day content is not fun, when the meta is not fun, it's like, this is a recipe for a game going downhill. It is. Let's just call it how it is. We need to call it what it is if we want it to be better. Because this is what I see. That's how I'm kind of perceiving this whole thing. If the meta was fun, but the day to day wasn't fun, at least there's some kind of purpose to like going through the boring grind. Because hey, the PvP is still fun at the end of the day. But the PvP is now boring because the meta is shit. And the progression content is bad. Things are not looking good. So I think there is a sense of urgency to at least fix the meta, because that is something I think AGS/NCSoft can fix in the immediate short term. Because guys, the content day-to-day progression shit, that's not going to change anytime soon, right? Like there's no chance. Let's be real here. That shit's not going to change. So I think they really need to do something about the PvP meta, and hopefully maybe even this podcast will bring some more light to it, because I don't see it talked about. I see way more bitching and complaining about exploits this year, which by the way is good that people are, complaining about that. But I think the current meta being shit is a much bigger concern for the current state of the game, because if we're stuck in this meta for the next few months, I feel like it's kind of doomed, man. I feel like it's kind of doomed. Thoughts, boys?
So I've been queuing a lot of 3v3 just to try to get those, rewards.
Yeah. Let me know your guys' thoughts in chat, by the way. Type it. Sorry, Morrow.
Yeah, well, I mean, most of the time it's miserable, right? Like if you have one tank, one DPS, one healer, then the match it's 0 kills at the end and you both lose rank. But every once in a while, you'll get a 3 DPS versus 3 DPS match, and it's immediately so much more fun. Like it's crazy. It kind of has the opposite problem at that point because people are dying too fast, but it's still like a way better problem to have than a 6-minute match with 0 kills. Like it's 10 times more fun, man. Like even if they can't get it perfect, like the pendulum has to swing back in that direction where just more stuff happens in PvP.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think that this game was like kind of marketed as a PvP game. Like from what I saw in the trailers, you saw massive flocks of people all going to the same objective and fighting each other and stuff. That's what the original trailers were. And then whenever I played the global beta last year, that was pretty much the main focus was PvP, because we were gated on so much of the PvE content. So that's what drew in a lot of players. And PvP content is once you start losing players, as we talked about before, it's the hardest to like maintain a player base for in this game, since it takes a player 3 months to become PvP viable. And most PvP centric players that are coming to an MMO to PvP are coming into this game and they're like, I don't really want to wait 3 months before I can PvP, and they'll just write the game off completely. Like there's some drastic changes that need to happen.
Yeah, I agree. Joey, your thoughts?
And with regards to the meta right now, since it's a heavy sustained meta, in arena specifically, it's crossbows, tanks, and healers. So sometimes you'd see some great sword daggers there, but since triple evasion is a thing, because of resonance, TTK has increased massively.
Right.
Because people get more endurance, people get more evasion, and you don't get a lot of hit or crit or heavy attack from that. And it's just slowing things down to the point where it's just it's a slugfest.
Right.
You have to specifically coordinate with your party to do a very specific move in order to even get a kill, which is not fun.
Right.
Like as Morrolan said earlier, you would rather have much more fun doing 3 DPS fights because everyone's dying, you know?
Right.
You're getting kills, they're getting kills. It's fun. There's an exchange. But with this kind of meta, it's getting a lot more stale by the day. You know, nobody wants to log in to do this shit over and over again. So they have to do some like I don't think the new weapons would help at all. But it really depends. Like but broken stuff only leads to more people using the same thing and it's gonna be the same result, right?
Right.
So basically, yeah.
So, all right, let's do this. We're going to round out today's podcast with with a take from each person on the panel today on what we think should be done to quote unquote save Throne and Liberty. And I'll start. I think what AGS and NCSoft needs to do right now, I think what they need to start with is fixing the current meta. I think that's the first thing that you start with. Balance. That's also that's also, I think, the fastest thing that they can actually fix that would significantly impact the state of the game. You fix the balance so that the meta doesn't feel like garbage, like shit. Because everyone, I asked this before in my chat too. Regardless of what you think the meta is, like regardless of why you think the meta is shit, do you like the meta or not? We even asked, I think we asked it earlier on this podcast too, and literally everyone said they dislike it. I think, that was on a stream and on today's stream. Fix that. The next thing you do is you add BGs. Okay. You add BGs, and then you also add some kind of significant PvE juice. You need both. Okay, some kind of significant PvE juice. I know raids are dropping in KR. It would be nice if we got those raids at the same time. Maybe the loot table is different. I have no idea how, because the loot table for raids are supposed to be like more higher vertical progression gear in KR. I don't know how you adjust that, what you do or you don't do. I don't know, but just give us either the raids with them or something else, some other kind of PvE juice we need. And then the fourth thing you do is let the community know that you're starting to work towards adding more RPG elements, like Morrolan said, things like life skilling, bigger emphasis on life skilling, other things you can do to. I'm not talking about horizontal content. I'm talking about vertical content. I'm talking about vertical life skilling RPG or vertical RPG content. I'm talking about things, other options for you to get more vertical progression, right? Maybe there's a life skilling system that you can go through now that will also give you vertical progression, that's worth your time doing. There needs to be more options, more depth to this game as an MMORPG. That is what I think NCSoft/AGS should be doing. More, let's start with you. What do you think?
I think they need to focus on fatigue, and there's two broad things I would say. Like if I could boil it down, first one is what you just said. The meta has to change. We were doing 2 GVGs and Nebula every night, and people were just getting tired. If the meta was actually fun, people wouldn't be tired after PvPing for 2 or 3 hours. They'd be like, hell yeah, dude, let's do that again tomorrow.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't be getting fatigued in the first place if the content actually felt fun and wasn't addicting in and of itself. And then the other side of that is the rest of the fatigue you get from this game, which is based on the repetitive dungeon runs and chores and things like that. There's honestly like so many solutions they could do here. They could make it so that we could like convert our dimensional tokens into abyssal grind, since everyone actually likes abyssal grind anyway. It's way more fun and rewarding. There's a bunch of solutions, but I think at its core, it's addressing PvP fatigue and then addressing daily chore PvE fatigue as well.
Dank. Actually, Joey, we'll go around counterclockwise. Joey.
Okay, so
Dank is my go-to guy. I'm just used to being like, Dank. Dank. All right, yeah. Joey. Sorry.
Aside from the meta, like we've talked about previously, battlegrounds, because you want the players to have something to look forward to every day, right? What you want when people are about to go and go to sleep and they're done for the day, you want to be like, dude, let's keep doing this tomorrow. Like what Morrolan said, I think battlegrounds is that, and maybe world versus world too, like a revamped version of Nebula Island where there's a giant objective. There's 2 factions.
That
And
would be
there's
sick. Actually,
like,
I like that
if you press
idea.
M in the world map,
Yeah.
you see like
It's actually a
two
great idea.
sections of the map, right?
More
You
PvP
see, like,
content. Yeah.
Yeah, you see Last Land, and then you see like the Talandre.
Last
You
Land
can have
versus
two
Stone
factions.
Guard. You pick two factions.
Yeah,
That would
something
be
like
sick.
that. You can have
And it changes
objectives from
each time.
region.
That would be okay.
Yes,
so
and it's dynamic.
The issue with faction PvP is one side always just dominates. But if you have a faction v faction PvP event where the teams are always changing, right?
Yes.
That could be different. And you know what they could even do it based off of? They could split it based off of who controls boonstones and riftstones and split those guilds accordingly. Right? Like I don't know. Okay, we're going down the rabbit hole. Sorry, go ahead. I digress. My bad. Great
It's okay.
idea though.
Like,
Yeah,
I like-
more large
I
scale
like the
content.
idea,
That
man.
would be sick, actually.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And these events you can queue any time of the day, and they go on for weeks. Like maybe we can separate them by seasons and whatnot.
You're cooking, bro.
You know?
You're cooking.
Yeah, we're cooking. We got
We're
that
cooking.
content. That's what we need, bro. Instead of us sitting here, okay, we finished our dailies, we burnt our tokens, and then what? The next Dominion event is in 2 hours. What are we gonna do? Like we're just gonna AFK or go scroll through YouTube and brain rot. It's not fun.
Dank.
Like you need to be doing something outside of like finishing your dailies.
Mm.
You need some new content to.
Mm.
And I'm not even talking about dimensional trials, because nobody wants to do that shit. We already established that earlier, that we would rather wait for the weekly rewards that give us these runes on our rune book to get to 80 instead of spamming T5s. We would rather be able to, like, not all players agree to this, but most players that are hardcore in PvP would rather enjoy their hard-earned gear and actually be able to use it in more PvP content than just keep doing PvE for what? For just finishing the dailies. Or uncapping the abyssal contract token mastery farms. Everyone loves that. You know? When you see 40k abyssal contract tokens, you gather up the boys, let's go farm. And burn that. You know, maybe we can ungate that. So aside from the world versus world, the battlegrounds, I think other than that, we got ungated content as well. We want that. No gates.
I agree with the no gates. That would be like on my list. Like if I could reimagine this game, I would definitely, that would be at the top of my list. I just didn't mention it in mine because I don't think it's practical that they're going to actually. I just don't think it's realistic that they're going to actually make that change. The whole game is designed around caps right now. But yeah, I agree. Dank, let's hear it, bro.
Well, there's quite a few things that they need to get done. I would say that, if they're not going to remove the time gates that they have on things, then they need to make all of the content more worth it. And, like when you go to a Dominion, you need to get better rewards from the Dominion event. Like we were talking about earlier, the world bosses, if you go to a GVG or a Dominion portal there, you're getting better loot. They need to incentivize PvP more. We haven't, other than Nebula Island, which now is honestly, most of the time it's a PvE island. People aren't really fighting each other. It's pretty dead. We haven't gotten any juice PvP content in a very long time. And I think incentivizing the current content, that like nighttime PvP, they could make the chests better. I think they need to get rid of alliances in this game outside of Siege. There just a lot of like small things people have been asking for a long time. And it seems like they try to work towards some of these things, but they don't like fully deal with the issue, right? Like they gave us Nebula Island, but once we were having a good time and it was popping, then they limited the amount of time that we could spend out there. It's like counterproductive to what we feel like is a good thing, like
real quick.
I don't know, maybe
real quick in chat. Tell me if you guys are for or against alliances. For or against having alliances in the game. And I know some of you guys are like, oh, remove it if the guild cap, like assuming the guild cap is good.
Majority, like you still need it for
majority.
Siege, right? Yeah. You have to have it for Siege. Like 70 people aren't defending against 2,000, but like outside of that, like it just promotes unfun gameplay in Nebula Island. Like, if you're getting matched against your alliance in a GVG portal, it creates this weird dynamic of like, oh, well, who's going to get the boss? You know, like, and you wouldn't have to deal with that if there wasn't an alliance during that time.
I am also more in favor of having like a higher guild cap. So I've always thought that like 100 members per guild is way more reasonable, just because it's like if you have content where it's like you're capped at 70 but everyone can show up, then that's like no one can ever hit cap unless you're a super sweaty hardcore guild, right? But like if you increase your cap to 100 people now, it's like, bro, every 48v48 you're going to be able to field a full field, right? It's like, and then obviously, you know, if you want large scale uncapped content, you can have that too, right? But having a higher cap in guild just allows more guilds to show up with more numbers for these smaller scale events. I think it's better for the state of the game to work that way. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Is there anything else you wanted to add there, Mr. Dank?
I don't know. I had something. Yap some more and I'll see if I remember it.
Okay. I guess shit. There was one thing I could have added. Wait, was it with the alliances? I can't remember.
I mean, alliances, like, it's way easier to do 48v48 content because of the 70 cap. So if Boonstones and Riftstones are going to say it's 70, it's the same logic, right? Like the guild needs to be 100 probably to make that easy to fill.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's what I was going to say. I think you got to be okay. I think Throne and Liberty could take a page out of BDO's book, but you got to be careful because you don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole. You know, BDO kind of went overboard with it. But I think some of the things that BDO did with its node war system, having capped gear capped tier 1 node wars, you know, like 30v30. I think it was as low as like 20, or maybe it was 30v30, like 30-man node wars. I think it was like a 50 or 60-man node war, gear capped at this level. I think having some of that content for like the tier 1 boonstones is pretty good to have for the more casual and or newer player base. Because one of the problems with Throne also that I didn't really mention earlier, was that if you're a new player, it's going to take you so long to get PvP ready, especially with this being a PvP game. But you got to be careful with balanced content, right? You don't want to overdo it. I genuinely think that you should have way more unbalanced content in MMOs, because this is an MMO. The whole purpose is vertical progression. You want to feel your power, right? This isn't League of Legends. This isn't a fighting game where it's just an even fight. But having that content as an option, I think, is always for sure good. You should. So I think adding like some balanced gear capped node war boonstones and or riftstones for the lower level, you know, like Starlight, like the Starlight boon or whatever, like some of those shitty ones, make them like, you know, capped at like, I don't know, 30 or 40 people and balance it to the point where, you know, you only get so much power. I don't know how they would do that, but that in theory, like on paper, I feel like would be a great idea for like the newer / more casual guilds.
I also feel like, obviously like Battlegrounds is horizontal progression, but I really enjoyed that winter event that they did. Like, you say it's not League of Legends, but that event was the most popping event that I've seen them have. Like, if you try and queue up for more festival, it would take you like 5 minutes.
The Christmas event, right? Yeah.
The Christmas event was so good, bro. And I think that they need to do that more, is like try and create more fun, because that's something that, you know, hardcore players can get into, casual players can get into, and it's a form of like gear balance in a way. You're all on an equal playing field, and it's a form of PvP, right? But you're absolutely right. Like, they need to make it to where tier 1 boonstones from content that nobody really cares about and buffs that nobody really cares about anymore, bosses nobody cares about, they need to make it equalized gear, because the people that are going after those stones are the smaller guilds and the less geared people.
100%.
Otherwise, they would be up in Talandra trying to fight the big dogs, trying to get the good gear, right? Like, there just has to be a place for newer players to come in and have an equalized playing field, whether it's events like the Christmas event, or it's boonstones, or a preset gear set for normal arenas, and then you can use your big boy gear in ranked,
Right.
or battlegrounds, whatever it may be. Like that is, in my opinion, one of the biggest issues in this game. And those PvE players that are PvE players in this game will not step foot in PvP because they're just going to get annihilated off the screen.
Right.
They don't even have a chance to want to go there. They might love the PvP in this game, but they'll never be able to figure that out because
fun PvP,
where are they going to go to do it?
That's less sweaty and demanding. I 100% agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just more. I mean, I like the idea of horizontal stuff. Like, I feel like we've been getting so much vertical stuff, and it just creates more FOMO and more of that problem of like chores that you have to do. Otherwise, you're missing out on some crazy good loot. Just create some fun stuff for us to do in the time and like the in between times. And also, this might be a hot take, but they need to do away with only having like 12 hours worth of events and like bosses and stuff. Like, you should be able to log in any time of day. I can understand for arc bosses and for siege and stuff, but when it comes to world bosses, it just needs to go throughout the whole day, right? Like, some people can't log in between 12 and 1 a.m., right? And that's when all the content takes place in the game. And that's just unfair to a lot of players. And I feel like they're missing a lot of players because of that. That's about all I got.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing. I agree. Boys, is there any closing thoughts or comments that you guys want to add before we close this out? Nada. All right. Well, listen up.
Battlegrounds, please.
Battlegrounds, please. Yeah, listen up, guys. So follow these guys. I'm going to have all their links in the description below. If you're watching on Twitch, hopefully my mods can shout all these guys out. Actually, probably don't need to, considering their names and channels are on my stream title. So definitely go check these guys out. Boys, I appreciate it, man. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today, taking the time to having this discussion. I will be uploading this onto the YouTubes. And yeah, since they don't have any closing thoughts for YouTube, we're going to end it here. Thank you so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know what you guys say in the comment section below. What do you think about the state of the game, Throne and Liberty? How do you feel? See you guys in the next video.